Trust me, you and I are about to dive into a revenge story. He crossed the ocean for his wife, only to find she died years ago. Even worse, the killer was her own flesh and blood, her father, Dam Channa. When Seal Mudak heard the news, his fury nearly burned the North Sea Divine Palace to the ground. How could a father be this heartless? You are the leader of the Martial Alliance, yet you slaughtered your own daughter. Men of the North Sea Divine Palace, hear my command. Follow me into the Central Plains. For her sake, his singular rage turned the entire martial world of the Central Plains into a river of blood. Dam Channa, once so arrogant and untouchable, had exhausted his power and knelt in the dirt, waiting for the end. Through the howling wind and snow, Seal Mudak approached him, step by step. Why did you kill Wayan? She was your biological daughter. Tell me why. Even at death's door, Dam Channa stayed unyielding. He spat that the daughter of an alliance leader falling for a lowlife like him was a disgrace. Letting her live was his biggest mistake. A cruel smile twisted his lips. So what if you conquer the world? You will never get the one thing you want most. In the freezing snowstorm, Seal Mudak said nothing. Now watch this, here is where the monster finally pays. In a flash of killing intent, Dam Channa was impaled by light. No one knew if he felt regret before he died. But he was right. What did it matter if Seal Mudak ruled the world? Wayan was gone. All that remained was the love lotus she had cherished most in her life. Back then, when the love lotus bloomed, Wayan's smile was dazzling. This flower only opens when two souls are truly in love. Tears of emotion filled her eyes. I never once doubted your heart, she whispered. But when it refused to bud, it still hurt. Now it's blooming so beautifully. It proves this isn't just one-sided. You really love me too. Seal Mudak held her close. Silly girl, who else could I ever love but you? He gazed at Wayan gently. Seeing her so happy, he silently thanked the little flower. They had once filled the garden with these lotuses. But after Wayan passed, every single flower withered away into nothing. But wait, we are about to see something impossible. In his solitude, Seal Mudak saw a sight that left him stunned. The love lotus had actually bloomed again. This was completely unheard of, and Seal Mudak immediately summoned his shadowless subordinate with a wave of his hand. He ordered them to find anyone who could explain this miracle immediately. No matter the cost, bring them here. Days later, the North Sea Divine Palace gathered scholars from across every region. These wise men were all visibly shaken. Suddenly, a powerful voice echoed from the sky above. Everyone, get to my garden right now. The confused crowd could only follow the voice and rush toward the scene. But the moment they stepped into the garden, what they saw left them completely speechless. The entire garden was filled with legendary love lotuses in full bloom. One old man rushed forward, his voice trembling. You might not see this once in a lifetime, yet here they are, all blooming at once. The symbol for love appeared on every stem. These were undoubtedly the fabled love lotuses. Suddenly, Seal Mudak emerged from the shadows. I am the owner of this garden. Do you like my flowers? They were all terrified. This was the ruler of the Central Plains. Why was a man like him here? Before they could speak, Seal Mudak cut in. My beloved and I made these bloom, but when she died, they died with her. Yet days ago, they all came back to life. Hearing this, the scholars' expressions shifted instantly. They fell silent, thinking, this is abnormal. If there is an explanation, there is only one possibility. Seal Mudak's voice was taut with urgency. Tell me, what possibility? The old man explained that this can only mean the former owner has been reborn into a new body. That means your beloved has already been reincarnated somewhere. Seal Mudak was visibly shaken. For real? If she was not back, why else would these flowers bloom again? A spark of joy lit his eyes. Finally, a path to finding Wayan had appeared. Ever since he unified the Central Plains and fulfilled his palace's dream, all he felt was a hollow emptiness. Nothing could fill the void she left behind. Time had not faded his longing for the girl who made him wait through those long nights. His love for her only burned deeper. Now, he needed a way to find her. The old man told him, the legend says when two lovers are in the same place, the lotus you grew together will glow. Seal Mudak remembered the past. And that is where we leave it, a man on a mission to find his lost love. Wayan's flower really did glow, and that was the secret. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where a simple love lotus jewelry changes everything. After hearing the plan, Seal Mudak turned to leave, giving them 10 days to prep for his departure. He promised a massive reward for their hard work, 100 taels of gold for every single person. As the sun set, Seal Mudak stared at the horizon, whispering to the wind that he would find Wayan eventually. Far out at sea, a massive sailing ship was now slicing through the waves at an incredible speed. Inside his cabin, he noted that this was already the 3rd year of his long search for her. He had scoured every inch of the map, yet there was still absolutely no sign of her anywhere. His power had grown too, breaking through from the transformation realm straight into the profound mystery realm. Clutching his pendant, He remembered how her father's failed peace talks had tragically sent Wayne spiraling into the dark abyss. To fix the tension with damn China, Wayne risked everything because she truly believed her own father would never actually harm her. And that was when Seal Mudok made the single biggest mistake of his entire life. Before those talks, Wayne gave him her mother's relic, a necklace she claimed held a very strange and mysterious power. She promised it would guide him back to her side one day, smiling beautifully as she said they would never be truly separated. Regret consumed him. He should have stopped her from going, no matter what it took from the very start. Now pay attention, this is where things get wild as a massive storm suddenly erupts over the once calm ocean. Heavy rain and mountain-sized waves began crashing down against the struggling wooden ship. It was worse than a nightmare. The ship nearly shattered under the pressure, and people were being tossed into the freezing water like helpless dolls. Thinking fast, Mudok used his telekinetic power to grab hold of several loose wooden planks. He sent the wood flying toward the survivors in the water, giving them a desperate chance to stay afloat. But then, a massive wall of water rose up, leaving nothing but pure despair in the sailors' eyes. Even a master like Seal Mudok couldn't help but break into a nervous cold sweat. He had no choice. Mudok began gathering his energy, preparing to freeze the entire ocean in its tracks. The temperature plummeted instantly. In a flash, Seal Mudok pushed his internal power all the way to its peak. Suddenly, his pendant started to glow. A giant vortex of light opened in the sky, sucking the massive waves and everything else into its terrifying pull. Standing right under the pillar of light, Mudok found himself frozen in place by an overwhelming magical force. A second later, the light vanished, and the storm was gone like it never even happened. The crew just stared at each other, totally confused about what had just taken place. But trust me, none of them noticed that Seal Mudok was completely gone from the ship. After crossing over, he immediately found a group of people being swarmed by these giant, disgusting, and terrifyingly oversized fruit flies. He wiped them out with a wave of his hand, though he felt totally lost in this strange world. Everyone looked like foreigners here, so he knew he was nowhere near the Central Plains anymore. He looked up at the swarming bugs and gathered his strength, unleashing a legendary divine palm of ice. Every single fly was frozen solid into a block of ice instantly. An instant later, those ice blocks exploded in the air, bursting just like a fireworks show. The foreigners were absolutely stunned. An old man stepped forward to talk to him, but Mudok couldn't understand a single word he said. Just as he feared, the language barrier was going to be a real problem. Suddenly, the old man pulled out a ring and made some really weird, suggestive movements while wearing it. Right after that, he could somehow understand Mudok's words and started chatting with him like normal. The ring was actually a translator, but did he really need to do that gross little dance first? The man introduced himself as Edmund, the big boss of the Royal Merchant Guild in this land. He thanked Mudok for saving them, calling him a magic swordsman, which only made our hero frown. Edmund explained that in this world, a magic swordsman is someone who masters both the blade and magic. Mudok was confused about what magic even was, but Edmund was convinced he had just seen it firsthand. Then, Edmund asked the one question that Mudok really didn't want to answer, and that's where we leave it for now because honestly, you and I wouldn't know how to explain this mess either. Alright, stick with me as we see if our hero has finally lost his mind. Edmund shivers in terror, but by nightfall, Seal Mudok finally starts to calm down. Right now, they are deep in the forest, trekking toward Barhan, the capital city of the Drake Kingdom. Edmund hands over a translation ring and explains how it works. Our hero is going to need it in this strange land. Once it is on, even Seal Mudok pauses in pure shock. He can actually understand these foreigners now. Who knew tech like this existed? The language barrier is gone, but suddenly, his chest burns. A violent, unknown energy begins to fluctuate wildly deep inside his body. This power feels nothing like the internal energy from the Central Plains. His heart sinks. Something is very different about this world. He has to know what he is dealing with. In an instant, Seal Mudok launches himself high into the sky above the dark tree line. Now, pay attention to this part. He gathers that strange energy into his palm and releases it all at once in a massive burst. The result is mind-blowing. The energy inside his body did not just recharge, it actually doubled in strength. He is miles away from the Central Plains, yet his power is spiking. He wonders, could that necklace be the reason he is here? Ween once mentioned it could return a person to their giver, and Seal Mudok had later fused it with a magical love lotus. If the necklace brought him to this realm, then that means Ween must be somewhere nearby too. But since he is still a stranger in a strange land, he plays it smart. He decides to stick with the merchant caravan for now, making his way toward the capital of Barhan. When the others start asking questions, he just keeps it simple. He tells them he is a mountain cultivator who finally decided to see the world. Suddenly, a young boy named Luffy squeezes through the crowd, looking at Seal Mudok with eyes full of pure admiration. Don't let his age fool you, this kid knows everything there is to know about this mysterious new world. The geography is bizarre, and the writing is nothing like the scrolls back in the Central Plains. It is not just humans here either. There are elves, dwarves, and even beastmen roaming the lands. But the real alphas? Dragons. Massive, winged lizards that rule the skies. And the most insane part? Humans can actually use teleportation magic. Any mage of the 5th circle or higher can use magic arrays to travel anywhere in an instant. Talk about a total cheat code. Seal Mudok can only murmur to himself. This world is absolutely absurd. You and I would be shocked too. He looks up and sees 3 moons hanging in the sky. At this sight, Seal Mudok admits this place is nothing like the Central Plains. Ween, is this your doing? Did you really summon me to this place? Suddenly, chaos erupts. Savina, one of the travelers, has taken her own little sister hostage in a fit of pure desperation. 2 men try to talk her down, promising that the magicians in the capital can cure whatever is wrong with them. But Savina is at her breaking point. She knows those doctors cannot help with what is inside them. Parasitic eggs from a shell stinger are buried in their hearts, ready to hatch into larvae at any second. How can magic fix that? Once those things hatch, they will turn into mindless monsters. Not human, not beast, just something horrific. She would rather die now while she is still herself. But just as she is about to end it, Seal Mudok steps in. He tells her to stop, claiming he knows exactly how to fix this. Savina just stares, wondering if this stranger is for real. Edmund is just as stunned. He rushes over, asking if the magic swordsman actually knows how to use healing spells. Seal Mudok just finds the old man's rambling annoying. He does not use magic, he uses something much more effective. He explains he knows nothing of spells, only ancient treatment methods. He tells everyone to back off so he can begin. He looks at the 2 girls and tells them to relax. Just close your eyes and loosen up, this won't take long at all. A second later, he activates his inner force, sending it surging through their bodies. Their bones glow through their skin as his energy floods their meridians. He locks onto the parasites right next to their hearts. This is delicate work. He has to incinerate the eggs without accidentally stopping their hearts in the process. His energy glides along the heart's edge, then boom. He lets out a sudden, precise burst of power. Savina and Annie exhale sharply as the pressure vanishes. Seal Mudok simply stands up and tells them it is over. The pests are gone, and there won't be any side effects. They do not have to live in fear anymore. Days later, the caravan continues its slow trek toward Barhan, the heat of the road beating down on everyone. The travelers are miserable, complaining about the brutal weather. It is hot enough to melt a grown man. Little Luffy walks over and offers his water flask to our hero. Seal Mudok looks down at the boy's kind gesture. The water is warm. Trust me, you and I are in for one hell of a journey. Alright, you and I are watching a master at work. Seal Mudok chills some water using pure inner force. He hands the flask back to Louis, who feels a sudden, refreshing jolt of cold against his palm. One gulp of that ice water and the kid feels totally reborn. Naturally, he scoots closer to Seal Mudok. Hey, Mr. Magic Swordsman. Can you freeze my bottle of water too? The kid had been a big help on the road, so Mudok does not mind. He fires up his energy again. Little Luffy hugs his icy bottle with a massive grin, but word travels fast. Soon, the whole caravan knows. What a bunch of annoying brats. Then there is Edmund. He is a total pain, but after one sip, he starts praising the water like it is holy wine. I have tasted water across this entire continent, and nothing compares to this. Mudok is confused. It is just frozen water, right? Why would the taste even change? Edmund explains that normal mages use the cold attributes of magic in the air to make ice. That process lets impurities leak in, which totally ruins the flavor. But Mudok's ice is purely physical energy, making it taste way cleaner and smoother. Edmund's eyes light up with a scheme. Suddenly, our hero is forced into being a street-side ice maker. Now, pay attention here. Edmund becomes the manager, taking a 40-60 profit split, 60 for Seal Mudok. Business is booming. Even the Maji Guild, one of the top 10 merchant groups on the continent, wants in. Then, something unexpected. Savina uses the ice to invent ice cream. It is sweet, rich, and unlike anything Mudok has ever tasted. One bowl is definitely not enough. Mudok heads back to the kitchen to ask Savina for a second round, but at the door, he sees a total mess. A bunch of arrogant nobles are demanding Savina serve only them. These guys are way too used to acting like trash. They pull swords over every little thing. But one guy in the group really stands out. His eyes hold a strange magic, like they could reach out and snatch your very soul. Edmund tries to play peacemaker, but his arrival just makes this noble kid even more aggressive. You dare insult the nobility? You will pay with your life. He swings his blade with absolute murderous intent. Edmund is completely defenseless against a strike like that. Now watch this. An arm reaches in and stops that unstoppable blow dead in its tracks. Mudok just waves his hand, sending the kid flying. Furious, the noble starts flooding his sword with magic. Light and shadows blur as his blade reaches a terrifying level of speed. But no matter how fast he swings, he cannot even graze Mudok's clothes. He keeps hitting nothing but after images until Mudok finally gets bored. Where does this kid get his confidence? With strength this pathetic, he does not deserve to be this cocky. Mudok simply raises a finger and flicks. A beam of pure energy shoots out and pierces right through the kid's wrist. The sword clatters to the ground as the noble screams, clutching his bleeding arm in agony. Even with that pain, he does not feel sorry. His face is just twisted with pure hatred. Mudok walks toward him slowly. The kid refuses to back down, gritting his teeth to stand back up. Mudok says coldly, "You could have stayed down. Why keep getting up? Let us see how long you last." Since this kid's pride is so deep, Mudok decides to make him remember the price of arrogance. Your bones might be tough, but let us see if they stay that way until the end. His eyes turn icy with killing intent. He should probably just end him, but his past keeps him in check. So, Mudok gives them one chance. But these spoiled brats still need to learn a very painful lesson. Let us see. Is your skull harder, or is the stick in my hand stronger? As Mudok closes in, that defiance finally turns into pure terror. Arrogant trash like you? A good beating is the only cure. By nightfall, the noble finally seems to regain his senses. Please stop, we were wrong. Trust me. You and I know some people only learn through pain. Stick with me, because things are about to get intense during this secret meeting inside the Drake Castle. The Count looked miserable. Our informants report that the Kingdom of Serbia has recovered the northern Black Wasteland, while the Kingdom of Hazen is also developing lands beyond the vast Sahara. Duke Icarus was shocked because those lands are crawling with monsters that no human has ever conquered. What secret methods did the Kingdom of Hazen have? The atmosphere turned even heavier as they suspected the legendary Anos had already been recruited to their side. Just hearing that name sent a wave of terror over the king's face. The rest of the council members started breaking into a cold sweat, too. That is because Anos was one of the 10 great sword saints who viewed money as total trash. He appeared to be extremely close to Lake's sister, the current king of Hazen, meaning that kingdom now effectively possesses 2 powerful sword saints at the same time. With power like that, expansion was only a matter of time. Now watch this, because the high officials are starting to panic and realize they need to expand their own territory too. Their only option was the Lazar Mountains, sitting far to the north. That region has been frozen for thousands of miles, and without a suitable candidate, no amount of effort would be anything but a complete and total waste. After everyone left, the king was still feeling deeply troubled. Duke Icarus was incredibly ambitious, and for 10 years, anyone who opposed him had been sent away to the frozen north. He felt isolated and alone, realizing the Count was the only person left he could trust. Late that night, the king suddenly craved a treat he had heard about earlier in the day: ice cream. The Count promised that for a king burdened by the state, he would gladly fulfill such a simple request. Meanwhile, Savina ran over to find Seal Mudok with a bunch of kids who wanted to learn magic. He told them straight up that he used martial arts called the Divine Palm of Ice, not magic. But the kids didn't care and immediately changed their minds. They wanted to learn his martial arts instead, and seeing their sincere, innocent eyes really made Seal Mudok's heart stir with emotion. Maybe they also have people they want to protect. But his priority was finding Wayne, plus the techniques of the North Sea Divine Palace are never given to outsiders. He suppressed his emotions and told them to come back at this same time tomorrow for his final answer. The kids were convinced that he had already agreed to teach them. They shouted that they would never forget this kindness for as long as they lived, leaving Seal Mudok speechless as they ran off in excitement. Once the door shut, he stood there in total silence. He pushed open the window and stared out alone, remembering the days when he was their age and longed for strength in that same way. Every child dreams of possessing world-shaking power, but then he heard the faint sound of clashing weapons coming from the forest. You saw that too, right? A simple snack run just turned into a deadly nightmare for the king. They had been ambushed, and even worse, one of the attackers was a high-level fire mage. The mage summoned 3 fireballs with a wave of his hand, forcing the Count into a very difficult defense for a time. The fireball exploded right in front of him as the king watched in pure agony. When the smoke cleared, the Count was still standing, but his arm was clearly mangled and bleeding. The blood wouldn't stop, but he still ordered the guards to form their ranks and meet the assassins head-on during the attack. The assassins kept coming, shouting for someone to take the king's head today. The king's guards were definitely no weaklings, and the Count managed to strike down one of the assassins in the blink of an eye. But before he could recover, 2 more attackers swung their swords at him at the same time. He barely raised his blade to block when the mage prepared another deadly spell. The Count's expression changed drastically, but then a beam of light descended from the sky and pierced that mage's body straight through the chest. A mysterious figure then stepped down from thin air. He whispered that he caught them, which immediately sent the assassin leader into a state of panic. A second later, Seal Mudok flashed behind him and ended one of the subordinates instantly. He complained they were being too noisy, and trust me, you and I are going to love seeing him finish this before his ice cream melts. You and I are jumping into the heat of battle where an assassin leader is panicking, because someone ghosted behind him. Seal Mudok's sudden sneak attack completely shattered the assassin's rhythm, leaving them wide open for a split second. Luckily for them, they still have the numbers. The leader barks out a desperate order to kill the king and retreat immediately. He raises his hand, slashing forward with a lethal strike, while telling his men not to overcomplicate the mission. He decides to handle Seal Mudok himself, but the man already has a massive greatsword materialized and waiting to block the strike. A wild heat flickers in Seal Mudok's eyes. He didn't expect to run into a swordsman worth his time in this place. To show his respect, he prepares to unleash the Asura Dragonsword technique from his North Sea Divine Palace. The assassin leader charges back in, mocking him, but Seal Mudok just looks down at his blade with a cold, focused gaze. This is what a real fight feels like. He tells his opponent not to disappoint him and to bring every ounce of strength. He effortlessly blocks another strike, sending the assassin into a blind rage as his long blade thrusts forward with murderous intent. With a simple, fluid shift of his body, Seal Mudok makes the fatal attack look like a total miss. Suddenly, the shadows shift, and the assassin pulls out a second weapon, trying to catch our hero off guard. Wielding twin blades, the killer leaps into the air and brings both swords crashing down with a flash of cold steel. Seal Mudok just flicks his sword upward, shattering the momentum before twisting his wrist to deliver a punishing counterstrike. Sword shadows cross, and by the time he swings his third strike, it is already over. The man's life is snuffed out instantly. As a light rain falls, the king and the count can only stare in silence. The remaining masked killers are frozen, one of them whispering in a voice that is shaking with pure terror. Could he be the Sword Saint? Pay attention, because his face darkens as he blames them for something crazy. He grumbles about his ice cream melting in the rain, leaving the assassins wondering what on earth ice cream even is. But there is no time for questions as they all lunge at him together, hoping to overwhelm him with one final charge. 6 killers close in from every side, their blades overlapping in a deadly web of steel. Suddenly, his protective energy explodes outward, stopping their swords dead. Without breaking a sweat, Seal Mudok raises his Asura Dragonsword one more time. Fueled by his inner power, a faint, ghostly halo begins to shimmer around the edge of his blade. A freezing gale erupts, and in one massive horizontal sweep of icy energy, all 6 assassins are cut down where they stand. Just like that, Seal Mudok sheathes his sword as if he were just out for a casual afternoon stroll. Under the king's shocked gaze, he transforms into a streak of light and vanishes from the scene in an instant. He just left? The king realizes they are out of time and orders the count to find that man no matter what. The count clenches his fist with a steady resolve, promising his majesty that he will take care of everything personally. We cut to Edmund buried under account books. He is shocked to hear that the magic swordsman is actually teaching children magic. The red-haired man sounds pretty salty about it, complaining that plenty of people in their own family want to learn too. Why did he only choose those 4 kids? Edmund just lets out a strange, knowing laugh at the news. You and I both know those kids just hit the absolute jackpot by stumbling into a master like this. Plenty of people want magic, but almost no one can actually learn it. Edmund stands up, demanding to be led to them. He can already smell the profit, realizing their merchant guild is about to rise much faster than he ever expected. Soon after, they find Seal Mudok in the woods to thank him, but the man doesn't understand a single word they say. When they mention teaching the children magic, Seal Mudok finally realizes what all that whispering in the guild was about. Suddenly, Edmund starts sniffling, overcome with a sudden wave of dramatic gratitude for our hero. He thanks him from the bottom of his heart, wondering how he could ever repay him, when a man in glasses interrupts. A guest has arrived. All 3 of them turn their heads at once to see who it is. A man in magnificent clothes walks over, his eyes bloodshot and his hands trembling so hard his knuckles have turned white. He drops to his knees with a heavy thud, looking completely desperate. He begs the magic swordsman to save him, explaining that the king threatened his life if he failed to bring him back today. Wait, His Majesty? Did he just say the king? Seal Mudok tries to kick the man away, but he clings to his leg. He pleads with Seal Mudok not to refuse the invitation. This is a life or death situation for him. Anger flares in Seal Mudok's eyes. I know what you're thinking, why won't they just leave him alone? Alright. You and I are about to dive into the story of a legendary magic swordsman searching for his lost love. He pulled a purple crystal from his robes, his mind drifting back to the memories of their first meeting and their love. It was the greatest time of his entire life. Whenever he thought of Wayne, even his most restless thoughts finally found peace. But at that exact moment, the sudden shouts of the children ring out and interrupt his deep, quiet thoughts. Wayne, just wait for me. I will find you. The scene then shifts deep inside the castle of the Drake Kingdom. Behind his desk, the king's voice dropped low. He refused again? The chief attendant bowed. My deepest apologies, Your Majesty. To the king, Seal Mudok seemed far too arrogant. He had originally planned to summon the man and grant him a proper reward. Seeing the king's dark expression, The terrified attendant quickly promised, "I will go back and try again tomorrow morning." Right then, an announcement echoed from outside the door. "Your Majesty, Princess Ishilda has arrived for her visit." The king's face softened instantly as he fixed his hair. "Fine, you are dismissed. Get out of here right now." The attendant hurried out, nearly bumping into Princess Ishilda as she entered. "Come here, Ishilda," the king called out warmly. Princess Ishilda stepped forward with a respectful bow. "Father," the chief attendant looked awful. "Did something happen between you two?" The king explained the assassination attempt on his life. The moment Ishilda heard the news, she grabbed her father's hand in shock. "Father, are you okay? Were you hurt?" The king held her hand, offering a stiff smile. "Do not worry, I am safe. I am alive, and that is enough." "But why would a magic swordsman refuse?" "This is where you and I should pay attention." Ishilda went silent, thinking. Anyone her father valued this much had to be someone truly special. The king nodded in agreement. "Extraordinary is an understatement. You know how the Merchant Guild became famous lately because of ice, and that treat called ice cream, right? I heard the guild mage who created those treats is the very same person who saved my life back then." Knowing that only made the king want the mage by his side even more. Ishilda understood the situation immediately. A talent like that? Anyone would want to recruit him. She took a spoonful of ice cream and tasted it herself. A second later, she was stunned by the taste. "The man who made this is the one my father is searching for? Just what kind of man was he?" Her gaze drifted toward the window, watching two children outside, enjoying their ice cream. "I know what you're thinking. A princess going undercover? This is exactly where things get interesting for our story." The scene shifts. Seal Mudok watched the kids as a pale blue energy began swirling around their small bodies. After only 2 weeks of training, they could already release their inner energy outward. To him, that was not strange at all. After all, the mana here is much denser than in the Central Plains. He clapped his hands. "That is enough for today. You can already control your magic power skillfully. No, you can control it perfectly. Now, we enter the next stage of training." Suddenly, a familiar and annoying voice called out from behind him. Excuse me, Sir Magic Swordsman." History was repeating itself, but this time, the chief attendant had not come alone. He brought someone special with him. Seal Mudok meant to refuse again, but the purple crystal on his chest suddenly glowed. He stared in shock as the visitor lowered her hood. That is right. The person who had come was Princess Ishilda. Seal Mudok's hands were trembling as he looked at her. "I finally found you, Wayne." The scene shifts again as everyone heads indoors. Ishilda was the first to break the silence. "You are the one who saved my father's life, right?" Seal Mudok tried his best to act calm and graceful. "It was only by chance," he said. But to Ishilda, those words sounded like pure arrogance. Anger flared in her eyes. "My father invited you to the palace many times to thank you. Why have you kept refusing his royal invitation?" Seal Mudok looked at Ishilda. She looked exactly like his lost Wayne. He lifted his tea and took a slow sip. "I understand. When is the king available to see me?" Ishilda froze. She could not believe he had agreed that easily. Seal Mudok's intense gaze made her feel a little uneasy. "Since you are the one asking, just tell me the time." Ishilda felt even more confused. "Then tomorrow at 11 in the morning, just make sure you are on time." She stood up to leave. "I will see you then." After she left, Seal Mudok felt a strange sense of unease instead. She was the princess, the highest authority in the land, yet she seemed to have no memory of their past at all. How was he supposed to get close to her, let alone marry her? In that moment, Seal Mudok's expression darkened. Perhaps he needed help from Edmund. After hearing Seal Mudok's wild thoughts, Edmund's face changed drastically. "Have you lost your mind? Princess Ishilda is the only child of the late queen and the sole heir to the throne. A man with no status wants to marry a princess? You and I will have to wait and see if he succeeds. At the very least, any man who wants the princess must be a foreign prince or the heir of a great noble family." After hearing Edmund's warning, Seal Mudok lowered his gaze, lost in deep thought. "Trust me, you and I are about to find out if gaining noble status is finally enough to qualify him for a chance to pursue her." But Edmund stopped him again. "Do you even know palace rules?" He dragged Seal Mudok straight into the royal library. "You need to master proper etiquette from these books. Tonight, I'm going to teach you everything from beginning to end." Why is this guy so hyped? After a sleepless night, Seal Mudok stepped out dressed in full formal attire the next day. He hoped Zelda wouldn't hate the look. Inside the palace, the king gave him an incredibly warm welcome. But he didn't expect this. Wasn't this supposed to be a private meeting between them? Why are there so many people here? Even Zelda looked guilty, apologizing for all the officials who showed up. Seeing her flustered face, Seal Mudok realized she hadn't arranged this massive crowd at all. Right then, Seal Mudok spotted the brat he'd beaten before. Turns out, he's actually the son of the powerful Duke Icarus. Now pay attention to this guy. We all know he's seeing red and looking for any reason to snap. It's that same bastard. He started to rise, but his father's cold voice immediately shut him down. Sit down. Do you want to embarrass yourself in public? Deflated and humiliated, the youth slumped back into his chair. The king leaned over, whispering a few quiet words to the nearby count. Then, with a light cough, the king asked why the magic swordsman finally accepted his invitation after all this time. I've been way too busy lately, the guild is short-handed, and I'm working non-stop because I have to keep producing ice for everyone. Orders are piling up and the demand for ice far exceeds what we can produce right now. I only freed myself today. The king beamed, noting how well the ice and ice cream were selling. That's a fair reason for the delay. Seal Mudok felt relieved this king was much easier to handle, unlike that damn Chana. The king continued by thanking him again for saving his life that day. I'm granting you a title. I've had one in mind since we first met, and now I'll confer it personally. Step forward, Sir Magic Swordsman. Seal Mudok obeyed, dropping to one knee for the ceremony. The king slowly drew his sword. I, Malova, king of the kingdom of Drake, hereby declare this brave hero who saved my subjects to be a baron, bestowing upon him the legendary name of Blizzard. This name shall endure as long as Drake stands. Rise now, Baron Blizzard. The king tapped his shoulder, expressing his gratitude once more for being alive today. He's officially a noble. But you and I know that in this world, gifts always come with a price. Suddenly, Duke Icarus spoke up. A baron needs land to match his new title. The duke's gaze was ice cold, his words sharp enough to cut through the entire room. The king hesitated. Giving land wasn't hard, but finding a suitable territory at the moment was nearly impossible. Duke Icarus's expression grew even more sinister. Has your majesty forgotten the northern glacial lands discussed recently? We desperately need to send a lord there, and Baron Blizzard is obviously the most suitable choice for the job. His name fits the land of ice, and the current snowstorms are clearly an auspicious sign. The moment that proposal hit the air, the king's face completely changed. Beside him, Iselda tensed up. The north was a frozen wasteland where nobody wanted to go. Seal Mudok looked at her, confused. Are they really exiling him to the north? Then it clicked. Icarus was using his power for revenge, trying to drive him away because of what happened to his son. Instead, Seal Mudok just smiled to himself. If this was his path, he'd use the opportunity to earn massive merit and finally shorten the distance between his heart and hers. News of his departure spread fast. Edmund panicked, warning him about the never-ending snowstorms and avalanches. In that extreme cold, magic becomes unstable. It's a total death trap. Are you seriously going through with this? Seal Mudok just sipped his tea. Don't worry, the cold doesn't bother me. Unstable magic actually sounds fun. Edmund looked baffled. Sir, are you some kind of legendary snowman? Is he really human, or something else? Trust me, we're going to find out in the next chapter. All right. You and I are diving into a story where giants stand 3 meters tall with terrifying power. Edmund was shivering. They look human, but they are savage and ignore the freezing cold. No one has seen one, so maybe it is just a myth. Rumors say these northerners can fight 100 men alone. That is why they hate being ruled and refuse to follow any lord. Seal Mudok just smiled. If he can win over these fierce warriors, his prestige will skyrocket. Now that makes things very interesting. He pushed the door open only to find all the children waiting outside. Their eyes were red from crying their hearts out. Why are you all out here? A voice suddenly echoed through the surrounding woods as everyone turned to look. The north is way too dangerous for beginners. Master, please do not go. We still have so much to learn from you. If you leave, who will teach us how to use magic? Several children clung to Seal Mudok, begging him to stay. Seal Mudok let out a heavy sigh. That is when he noticed Iselda standing quietly in the back, watching the scene unfold. Iselda was nervously clutching her dress, looking completely uneasy. Seeing her troubled expression, Seal Mudok asked her what was wrong. She glanced at the children. I want them to leave before we talk. Without a second thought, Seal immediately sent the kids away. The two kids just stared at each other. Neither of them wanted to be the first one to walk away from their master. The girl asked timidly if he had agreed to their request. The boy shouted back, demanding an answer right then and there. If you do not answer, we are not leaving. Seal's voice tightened as he finally agreed just to get them to move. The kids cheered and ran off. Now watch this. Iselda watched them leave and remarked on how lively his disciples were. Seal shook his head. That was not liveliness. That was a rebellion. He turned back to her with a faint, gentle smile. Iselda lowered her eyes, feeling a bit better but still deeply sorry. She could not help but feel responsible for his situation. Because she asked her father to give him a title, he was being exiled to the north. That apology felt all too familiar. Suddenly, another face flashed in Seal's mind. Wayne had once apologized to him in the exact same way a long time ago. Seal snapped back to reality. If he had not accepted the title, he would not be leaving. Iselda trembled as the guilt sank in. So, it really is my fault. Seal coughed. She was too adorable. He told her an apology would not change their current reality. He had to leave eventually anyway. Iselda looked even guiltier, asking if there was anything she could do to put his mind at ease. Seal looked away. He mentioned that before a big journey, it is tradition to receive some kind of lucky charm or a token. Iselda was confused. What kind of token? Seal leaned in close and whispered that he heard it should be a sincere kiss. Her eyes went wide. A kiss? She suddenly jumped back, startled. Seal watched her reaction, wondering if he had crossed the line. Maybe I should not have said that. He turned around, telling her he needed to go get ready for his long journey ahead. He told her to just forget he mentioned it. Iselda was stunned. He just said whatever he wanted, and then tried to leave? As she watched him walk away into the distance, a strange and inexplicable feeling of familiarity suddenly started to well up inside her. Please wait. Her eyes darkened as if she had finally made a big decision. She was not going to let him leave like that. A farewell kiss. They were so close they could feel each other's breath in the cold air. It was a moment of pure magic. You and I saw that coming, right? Seal Mudok froze like a total amateur who had never been in love before. Watching Iselda run away in total embarrassment, Seal made a silent vow. He would definitely return to her as a true hero. The scene shifts to a northern town buried under a heavy blizzard. The atmosphere here was much colder and far more dangerous. Inside a local tavern, whispers spread about the new lord. They heard he saved the king and was rewarded with this land. Some said he defeated 100 men instantly. A massive, burly man with a fleshy face just laughed at the ridiculous rumors. Others heard he is a six-circle mage with sword skills that could rival a master. Another person just sneered at the tales. If he is so strong, why come here? Someone in the corner coldly remarked that it was obvious he offended Duke Icarus. At the end of the day, these were just rumors. Most people believed he would tuck his tail and run after a little intimidation. Meanwhile, out in the snowy fields, a man and a woman were gripped by intense fear as they held onto their weapons. They were being hunted by a furious, bloodthirsty wyvern. Both of them were filled with regret for ever trying to steal its eggs. In the middle of the chaos, the girl tripped and fell into the deep snow. She was injured and could not get back up. But when she looked at the man running ahead of her, her heart sank. She realized the beast was closing in on him. The wyvern opened its massive jaws, filled with razor-sharp teeth. It was already right behind him, ready to strike for the kill. The man was terrified, running with every bit of strength he had left. He was certain this was the end of the line. Despair filled his heart as the beast closed in. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this ends. All right, stick with me because we are starting this story right in the middle of a literal death trap. A man in white suddenly appears, unleashing a frost-covered sword strike that cleaves a wyvern in two. The beast's massive carcass slams into the snow, landing right at the terrified girl's feet. Out of the frozen mist, Seal Mudok steps forward. He calmly asks if she is all right, and the girl barely manages to find her voice. She thanks him for the rescue, but Seal Mudok stays cool. He tells her no thanks are necessary. He says he simply did what any lord should do before turning to leave, telling her they will meet again down the road. Before anyone can say a word, Seal Mudok transforms into a streak of white light and vanishes into the howling wind. The girl can only cry out in shock. In the blink of an eye, the mysterious man had completely disappeared, but frustration sets in when they realize the wyvern eggs are gone. Cut to the Northern Territory Palace, and things aren't looking much better. Seal Mudok sits in his hall looking absolutely miserable. It's his first day as lord, yet the entire place is a ghost town. He asks if the notice went out, but his attendant looks like he wants to disappear. The attendant apologizes and offers to notify the villages again, but Seal Mudok raises his hand to shut that idea down fast. He tells the man not to bother. This was a clear act of defiance from the people, and he knows it. It finally clicks why every lord who came before him ended up getting driven away by these locals. Now pay attention, because here is where the lord shows his teeth. He just smirks, and a few days later, his victims are complaining. That new lord is dangerously fast. The moment he touches you, you're paralyzed. And the way he hits? It's more brutal than words can even describe. A man rushes in, yelling that the lord is in the village square. Marcus just smiles coldly, ready for a confrontation. He's going to meet him face to face. As Caloran's strongest warrior, Marcus wants to see what this new lord is actually made of. The square is packed, but Seal Mudok stands there with an indifferent look. A girl approaches to greet him. It is the same girl he saved from the monster. Marcus notices her and realizes it is his own daughter. Rhea turns back to look her father in the eye. She tells him she went to steal wyvern eggs and almost died, but the Lord was the one who saved her. Marcus is instantly put in a massive bind. He wanted to humble this man, but how can he beat up his daughter's savior? He starts weighing the facts. The wyvern Seal Mudok took down was no ordinary monster. It was a powerhouse. Even for a legendary warrior like Marcus, killing a beast like that wouldn't have been so easy. The tension shifts. As the strongest warrior in the region, he realizes he has to take this man seriously and extends his hand. He introduces himself as the legendary Marcus, but Seal Mudok doesn't even acknowledge the man's outstretched hand. He simply calls himself Baron Blizzard. Marcus's face drops as he mentions the rumors of the Lord's recent violent streak. He asks if it is true he's been beating everyone up, but Seal Mudok calmly replies that it was just discipline. Seal Mudok's gaze turns ice cold. He asks Marcus if he is going to rebel too. Marcus feels the pressure. Then, the Lord makes a very strange proposal. He says that in this bitter cold, people have survived on strong liquor since ancient times. It's their way of life. Since Marcus is the strongest warrior, surely his alcohol tolerance must be just as legendary. You and I are going to settle this with a drink. If I win, you obey me absolutely. You feeling lucky? The crowd is losing it. They think he is insane for trying to outdrink a monster like Marcus. Marcus is incredibly confident in his liver, so he agrees on the spot, promising to honor the bet. Marcus strips off his coat to reveal his massive muscles, telling the Lord there is still time to run away. Seal Mudok just stares him down. He never takes back his word. It is time to begin. After several rounds, Marcus's eyes are starting to roll back. The villagers are watching their champion with pure anxiety. Rhea steps forward, begging her father to stop before he kills himself. He looks completely wasted. She tells him to quit, but Marcus stubbornly insists he can drink more. Under the shocked eyes of everyone, Marcus finally faceplants into the table, completely unconscious. His subordinates are left speechless. The strongest warrior in the land actually lost a drinking contest. Seal Mudok slowly rises to his feet. He orders everyone to gather at his castle in 5 days, expecting them to keep their end of the bargain. 5 days later, the hall is packed. You and I just saw a lord win his people over with booze. Respect. Marcus stood at the very front of the group, locked in a cold stare with Seal Mudok. I honor my bets and accept my losses, Seal Mudok says with a serious look. Listen up, because I'll speak plainly. Starting now, you have 10 days to move. Trust me, you and I can feel the crowd instantly erupt at those words. Rhea couldn't help asking, do you seriously mean for all of us to move into your castle and live there? Seal Mudok's eyes darkened. There are thousands of you. Do you really think this castle can hold everyone? We are heading farther north. I spent the last 5 days surveying the area and found a place big enough for 10,000 people. A massive commotion broke out immediately. Marcus stepped forward, objecting in a deep, heavy voice. We know the place you're talking about, Marcus argued. But that is where the ice ogres live. Seal Mudok asked back bluntly. You mean those two-legged, bald creatures as big as bears? Marcus's expression changed instantly. You ran into them? Seal Mudok smiled coldly. Pay attention. I didn't just run into them. I dealt with every last one. That news made everyone's skin crawl. Seal Mudok rested both his hands on his knees. So, what are you still afraid of? If you're not scared, get ready to move. As the meeting ended, the people slowly left. After days of non-stop travel and scouting, even Seal Mudok felt tired, stretching his body out. Just then, he heard a greeting from below. It was Rhea and the villager Jack, the people he'd rescued before. Seal Mudok looked at them, already knowing why they were there. Perfect timing. I wanted to find you as well. Come with me. After he killed that frost wyvern, the egg Seal Mudok took had already hatched into a bunch of noisy babies. Rhea gritted her teeth in anger. So it was you, my lord, who stole the eggs that day. How could you do that? Seal Mudok turned back. If I hadn't saved you that day, what would have happened to you? That single sentence left them both speechless. But honestly, these baby wyverns were giving Seal Mudok a massive headache. Take these noisy little things back. He had originally wanted to raise them and see what happened. But these creatures ate non-stop, caused endless trouble, and were just way too loud. They were driving him nearly insane. But the news Rhea brought him next was even worse. After hatching, wyvern hatchlings treat the first being they see as their mother. That meant Seal Mudok was now their recognized mother. I know what you're thinking, he just stumbled into a lucky bargain. Frost wyverns were incredibly powerful in both their massive size and their combat ability. Taming them was a rare stroke of luck. Jack added, with a wyvern, you could easily fly all the way to Skirton. That's the second capital of Gaia, 1,000 kilometers away, and it has everything. Traveling back and forth on a wyvern would take at most an hour or two. Hearing this, Seal Mudok was shaken. Wyverns were actually that fast? His face darkened as he planned how to tame them. In the next moment, a spark of excitement lit up in his eyes. He had a brilliant idea. Cut to the migration route, where the wind and snow were absolutely brutal. Savina ran over to report to Seal Mudok. Everyone is completely exhausted. They've reached their limit. After 3 days of non-stop travel, they were done. Seal Mudok knew exhaustion wasn't the only issue here. The real problem was that people still didn't trust him. Seal Mudok raised his voice, shouting to everyone, We're almost at our destination. Once we get there, your opinions will completely change. No matter how hard it is, please trust me. Just hold on a little longer, 2 villagers muttered in the back. We don't even know where we're going, or if the ogres are really gone. Seal Mudok's face suddenly flared with rage. I already told you. I wiped those creatures out completely. And you dare call yourselves Caloran warriors? After speaking, he turned and continued forward. Savina stared at him blankly, stunned by his oppressive pressure. Seal Mudok turned back and gave her a small smile. Don't worry, everyone will understand once we arrive. Savina just stared at his back, her expression complicated and her thoughts a mystery. After a long and difficult journey, they finally reached their destination. Looking at the enormous cave before them, the people could not contain their excitement. The Caloran people were thrilled. The cave felt like spring inside, and even the water was warm. Seal Mudok looked at everyone. From today on, this is your home. You and I know it needs a name. All right, you and I are back with Solam Mudok as he remembers his old home, the North Sea Divine Palace. He wants a name just like it. Raising his hand, he declares, from now on, this place is White Ice Castle. People have mixed feelings, but looking at him, nobody dares to say a single word against it. Suddenly, deep in the cave, magic light blasts out. Seal Mudok's baby wyverns are hit and collapse instantly. A voice whispers from the shadows. Strange. Why are there wyverns in a place like this? Now watch this. A voice speaks right behind him. I was thinking the same thing about you. Seal Mudok appears silently out of thin air, flicking a strand of freezing energy right from his fingertips. The mage cannot react in time. The energy hits, instantly turning his entire body into a block of ice. Mudok drops down, pinning the intruder to the floor with his foot, while staring him down with cold eyes. Talk, or I will show you exactly what happens when you touch my things. This guy is actually Count Jerome, the former Lord of the North. Even crazier, he actually thinks he can still stand as Seal Mudok's equal. Mudok says nothing. He just lets a tiny bit of energy leak from his palm. The sheer pressure turns Jerome pale. You failed your duty as a lord and lost your land. Now you want to act like my peer? Start being honest right now, or I will have no problem killing you right where you stand. Heal my wyverns, then come find me. I have work for you. Jerome is left looking completely lost. Work? What kind of work? Mudok smiles faintly. You are a former lord who knows magic. You are useful to me. He walks away, leaving the man with absolutely no room to argue. Jerome slumps down, realizing he just offended the one person in the world he should have avoided. And just like that, the former high and mighty lord becomes Seal Mudok's personal secretary. Mudok has him write to the king for tax breaks. Life in the frozen north is brutal, and survival is hard. Jerome warns him the other nobles will hate it. They will all call it unfair treatment. If the king says yes, everyone else will stop paying too. No matter what, His Majesty will say no. Mudok realizes the real enemies are the nobles, especially Duke Icarus, the man who sent him here to rot. It seems like even the king is just a puppet dancing on the duke's strings. Since politics are a dead end, they pivot to a new plan, much to Jerome's relief. Mudok whispers the new orders. Jerome freezes, his face filled with pure shock. Will this actually work? Mudok looks dead serious. It is the only option we have left right now. Get ready immediately. Soon, the Caloran people are summoned to the main hall. Everyone is confused. Why is the Lord calling a massive meeting out of nowhere? Mudok shouts for silence. Marcus and his daughter Ruya stand at the front, looking worried. We came fully armed just like you asked, Ruya says. But why exactly are we all here? You and I saw this coming. To hunt frost wyverns, Mudok says. We want their eggs. The crowd panics immediately. Those monsters are too strong. Getting an egg is basically impossible. Mudok lays out the strategy. 30 men per team. The goal is the eggs, not a fight. Jerome has the lists. Succeed, and you will be rich beyond your wildest dreams. The top team gets 100 gold coins. Suddenly, everyone's fear in that room turns into pure greed. Even Marcus looks interested. It is a deal. The hunt is officially on. While the people prepare, Mudok pulls Jerome aside for his real, secret mission. Watch them closely for 10 days. Find the ones with real talent. I need them for something else entirely. Jerome catches on fast. You want an elite force. A knight order of your own. Mudok is impressed. The man is sharp. He knows how to read a situation. Jerome is efficient and gets things done. Keeping him around was definitely the right call for him. Every lord needs a knight order, especially with Duke Icarus breathing down his neck. I will build the strongest order in the entire world. I am coming for you, Duke Icarus. Just you wait and see. And trust me, the hunt is on. He found Wayne's reincarnation, and he won't lose her again. All right, you and I are jumping right into the action as Seo Mudok commands everyone in the Great Hall to move out. Out in the frozen wastes, the Quran people hunt a frost wyvern while Marcus proves why he is Calaran's strongest warrior. Using nothing but raw strength, he takes the beast head-on before roaring for the second row to drop the net. A massive net slams down from above, instantly tangling the frost wyvern in its heavy cords. Seo Mudok and Jerome watch from the peak, Noticing how these hunters are finally starting to move like a real army, Jerome still can't believe the plan. Seo Mudok actually wants to steal wyvern eggs and raise them from birth. Tamed wyverns mean massive profits, serving as high-speed transport for hunting spoils across the entire world. But what's truly scary is how he turned those wild Caloran warriors into a single, disciplined unit. Jerome thinks about his lord's massive influence and feels a cold shiver down his spine. Jerome points out that besides Marcus, there is another young fighter showing some incredible potential. This mysterious kid delivers every single final killing blow, a feat that even catches Seo Mudok completely off guard. Now, pay attention here. Who exactly was the one who just split that wyvern open with a single strike? Jerome checks the records. His name is Gale Shuyad, a local hero known for stealing from the rich to feed the poor. Framed and imprisoned, he spent years on the run as a fugitive before finally seeking refuge in these frozen lands. Seo Mudok is intrigued. So, this powerhouse isn't even a member of the Caloran tribe. Still, he fits in perfectly and looks like the kind of asset who could be very useful. Seo Mudok gives Jerome a new mission: find every other fugitive who fled to this region and put all their details into a full report for him. Jerome's eye twitches as his workload is ruthlessly doubled yet again. Inside the Great Hall, Seo Mudok looks genuinely pleased for once. He tells the crowd that thanks to their tireless hunting, they finally have enough wyvern eggs. It is time to hand out rewards, and the moment that word is spoken, the Caloran people explode with excitement. But suddenly, Marcus raises his hand, signaling the rowdy crowd to go silent. They delivered the eggs as ordered, but now they want to know the truth. What is the real purpose behind this? Seo Mudok's eyes flash with a sharp light. He gives them a straight answer. When these frost wyverns hatch, they will imprint on the very first person they see as their mother. Seo Mudok plans to tame them himself and use the beasts for heavy transport. These monsters will carry massive loads on their backs, delivering cargo to every corner of the globe. Among all the spoils, leather is the ultimate prize, and the most vital commodity of all is the hide of an ice ogre. The Caloran people turn pale. Fight ice ogres? Is this a suicide mission? Seo Mudok looks over the terrified faces. He reminds them that he already wiped out the local ogres, his voice dropping low with a lethal edge. Do you really think I would stand by and watch you get turned into monster feed? That question strikes their hearts, making the crowd hesitate. You and I both know that before he arrived, these people were just barely surviving on their own. Everything is different now. The next second, the entire crowd erupts with a passionate, unified roar. They swear to follow him to the death, but just as Seo Mudok begins the rewards, panicked footsteps race toward the door. It is Leo, Seo Mudok's disciple, looking terrified. His master frowns, questioning why he's interrupting such an important meeting. Why the panic? Leo is so out of breath that he can barely get a single word out. Disaster has struck. Sister Savina is dying. Seo Mudok's heart sinks as he demands to be led there immediately. Out on the ice field, Annie and Luffy guard the fallen Savina, their faces full of pure panic. Finally, their master arrives. Seo Mudok steps closer, but his voice is calm in a way that is actually terrifying. He orders them to move aside, but as he checks Savina, his face turns grim. This situation is far worse than he imagined. How did she end up like this? Tell me everything that happened, down to the last detail. While searching for wyvern nests to help the village, the group stumbled upon a massive field of strange flowers. Crystal ice flowers were blooming everywhere, the kind of legendary plants you only ever see in old books. Savina thought they were beautiful and picked a few to take home, but then she just suddenly collapsed. Seo Mudok slowly opens Savina's hand to inspect the flower, but the sight of it causes his heart to skip a beat. It looks way too familiar. This crystal ice flower is actually the legendary snowfrost flower. And trust me, you and I are both wondering the same thing. How did this rare spiritual medicine from the North Sea end up here? Stick with me. Seo Mudok just realized this disaster is actually a golden opportunity. Let's get her back. Saving her is priority number one. That crystal ice flower fruit? It's a legendary spiritual medicine, truly one of a kind. But there's a catch: consuming. It means surviving the absolute zero cold chi inside. Savina collapsed because her inner force was simply too weak to handle that level of freezing cold poison. Seo Mudok feeds her the fruit, while using his own power to burn away the cold poison. Savina's eyes finally snap open. She's no longer a block of ice, but Seo Mudok isn't finished yet. Now that she's awake, he's helping her master the heart method he taught her earlier. No time to waste. Savina gets it immediately. She holds her breath, focuses her mind, and starts moving her inner force. The cold chi condenses, finally forming a solid inner core. Seo Mudok can finally breathe a sigh of relief. She's way stronger now. That crystal ice flower really did wonders, even better than Seo Mudok expected. Now pay attention, because Seo Mudok wants that power for himself. He's heading to the flower field soon. Maybe it's the key to jumping his cultivation up another tier. Jerome hands over the list. and Seal Mudok officially decides to establish his own private night order, the Blizzard Knights. Shu Yet gets named commander since he's the strongest. Now, it's time for the massive job of building schools and hospitals. From taverns to restaurants, Seal Mudok is assigning everyone jobs based on what they're actually good at. It's a massive undertaking. Osborne takes charge of the castle's security force, with Jerome serving as his right-hand man. Jerome tries to act humble and decline, but Seal Mudok just shuts him down. "You little brat, are you actually trying to disobey me?" Jerome flips his tune instantly, promising to give it his all. Meanwhile, Seal Mudok establishes 2 more elite guard units. The first unit guards the castle's exterior, while scouring the territory to bring back every single resident scattered across the land. Seal Mudok is taking the lead as the temporary captain for this one. Then, there are the Wyvern Riders, but they're short on mountable wyverns right now, so that unit has to stand by for a bit. Seal Mudok looks at Rhea. The commander of these Wyvern Riders will be her. Once their numbers are stable, the extra eggs go to the merchant group to help boost the territory's trade. A few days later, the meeting is over, and a late Jerome is grumbling about his massive workload. He really thinks Seal Mudok should take it easy on him. "Sorry I'm late again, guys." Jerome looks around and freezes. Like us, he's wondering, why is Savina sitting here? Wasn't this girl on her deathbed just recently? Seal Mudok just motions for him to sit and tells Osborne to continue with the security report. The security force hasn't been active for long, but the prison is already packed with 20 people, mostly fugitives. Marcus is getting pretty heated about it. "Lock them all up," Marcus shouts, but Seal Mudok fires back. "Maybe you should be the first one jailed. You're the one who kicked out the former lord, remember?" Marcus starts scrambling for excuses. "We were just protecting the land from those central nobles. It was self-defense, I swear." Seal Mudok gives him a cold stare. "Oh, when you do it, it's noble resistance? But when Shuyat does it, he's a thief?" Marcus immediately starts apologizing, claiming he didn't mean it that way. Shuyet, a fugitive himself, chimes in. "You can't judge everything by the surface. Let's just drop this for now." Savina stands up and asks to say a few words. Seal Mudok nods as she locks eyes with him. Since everyone hates fugitives so much, why not let them take the point on the upcoming ogre hunts? Let them lead the charge. The room goes dead silent after that suggestion. Seal Mudok finds the idea very practical and agrees instantly. Now, a squad of first-level fugitives is out hunting ogres in the snowy wilderness. Shuyet gives the command, "Keep your distance and stick to the training plan." Rini and Gray are ready. In the distance, a massive ogre starts sniffing out their location. Suddenly, Rini and Gray drop down from above, slamming a heavy blow right into the beast's back. The ogre roars. It spins around instantly, swinging its massive club in a deadly arc. Rini freezes up. "You and I better hope she snaps out of it before that club hits." "All right, you and I are jumping right into the action as Shia rushes in." "Rennie, get back." She barely dodges the lethal blow. Shuyet stays aggressive, twin blades carving into the ogre's flesh in a flash. Blood sprays everywhere across the snow. Then, in a heartbeat, all 3 attack at once. Streaks of light pierce the ogre's massive frame, sending the beast crashing down. The danger is over, and everyone finally breathes a sigh of relief. Nothing builds a bond like surviving a life and death struggle. Rini and Gray agree to grab drinks tonight, but little do they know, a mysterious pair of eyes is watching them from the shadows. Somewhere else on the ice field, another squad is hunting. Suddenly, they hear a strange rustling in the woods ahead. The group tenses up immediately. They decide to fire off a few arrows just to test the waters. They let their bows loose and send several arrows toward the sound, but they just vanish into the dark forest without a single response. Thinking it is safe, they move forward to recover their arrows. But then, a massive figure slowly steps out from the trees. Elsewhere, the recent hunts have left Seal Mudok feeling pretty satisfied. The locals aren't terrified of ice ogres anymore. After a few successful runs, everyone is feeling highly motivated. With their solid plan, even the giant ogres are being taken down systematically. But suddenly, a report comes in. Now, pay attention, because an unknown creature just appeared and is leaving people seriously injured. It is a massive snowman covered in thick white fur. Seal Mudok's heart sinks. Ogres only use brute force, but this creature clearly possesses a high level of intelligence. Seal Mudok acts fast and orders Jerome to stop the hunt immediately. The team looks at him in shock. "Are you taking this one on yourself?" His expression turns ice cold. "Yes, I'm going in first. Gather the others and follow me." Seal Mudok blurs across the ice at insane speeds. He activates the Eye of Insight. Within his spiritual vision, there is absolutely nowhere for the enemy to hide. He locks onto the snowman's trail instantly. In one smooth motion, Seal Mudok draws the Surayang sword. As the blade clears the sheath, a freezing gale erupts, slashing through the air toward the massive target. The snowman feels the raw killing intent behind the strike. For the first time, pure fear washes over its face. The sword shadow flickers and the chi pierces through, but Seal Mudok frowns. The monster somehow managed to dodge the fatal blow. Looking back, he sees only a shallow wound on its arm. This monster that terrorized the north finally smells death on Seal Mudok. It is literally dripping with cold sweat from terror. In your next life, be reborn as a human, he says coldly. In a blink, he is right in its face. You and I saw that coming, right? But as the Suryang sword crashes down, the snowman vanishes into thin air. A comment from Luffy flashes through Seal Mudok's mind. Masters above the 5th circle can use spatial magic to teleport. This white-furred creature is actually using high-level spatial magic, but teleporting won't save it from him. In the next second, Seal Mudok focuses his inner force into his palm. A beam of icy true chi blasts toward the escaping snowman's fading aura. It hits nothing but air. That huge body moves like a slippery rat. Even so, he can still track its scent. Its spatial jumps can't go that far. Seal Mudok steadies his mind to sense everything around him. Soon, he finds a hidden cave beneath a massive tree. What he sees inside actually makes him pause for a moment. Deep inside the cavern stands a massive, ancient structure. Looking at the shelves, it seems this place was once a library. Then, Seal Mudok spots the snowman hiding in the corner. If you're going to hide, at least do it properly. The snowman looks absolutely terrified, screaming for Seal Mudok not to come any closer. A talking snowman? Seal Mudok is baffled. Are you actually human? The snowman babbles, claiming he is the great holy warrior Condor. Just then, footsteps echo from right behind Seal Mudok. Jerome has arrived. His speed seems a bit suspicious to Seal Mudok, but Jerome claims he just followed the path of destruction that only Seal Mudok could have left behind. Jerome stares at the books. Why is a legendary snowman hiding in a library? That is what he wants to know too. You're Condor, right? Where are you from? But Condor just stares off into space. Seal Mudok unleashes his inner force, letting his killing intent press down on the creature. Speak, don't test my patience. As tears well in his eyes, stick with me to see what happens next. All right. You and I are jumping in as the main character confronts a snowman who claims he is from Gra. Is Grak your village? Are there more of your kind? Seal Mudok pressed, but the snowman stayed silent. Put that aside. Why did you attack my people? Your answer determines if you walk out of here alive. Condor thumps his chest. I killed no one. A holy warrior of the Grak does not kill casually. Jerome confirms the story. The reports showed severe injuries, but surprisingly, there were 0 deaths among the villagers. Seal Mudok pauses. It is true, no one had actually died. Condor slumps against the wall, looking completely exhausted. Humans invaded our holy land first, the beastman growled. I only drove them away. Seal Mudok realized his hunters had likely trespassed into the snowman territory without even knowing they were there. In the next moment, Seal Mudok tells Jerome to treat the beast wounds. As he works, the barren gaze becomes oppressive. Tell me where this holy land is. My people will not cross that line again. Condor eyes light up. Really? Seal Mudok sighs. Yes, but you are being way too casual with me. Learn some respect. But looking at the confused creature, Seal Mudok realizes he cannot even be bothered to argue anymore. Forget it. Why get serious with someone who can barely string a sentence together? Jerome finishes the treatment. Seal Mudok turns to head out, ready to leave the entire village behind them. But Jerome calls out, stopping him. Wait, sir. May I make a personal request of you? 3 full months pass since Seal Mudok left for the north. Edmund has spent every day waiting by the well, refusing to move. Finally, he breaks down. It is over. Our merchant guild is finished. The magic swordsman promised that if I held on for 3 months, he would send the ice, yet there is nothing. Now pay attention, because just as hope dies, a massive shadow looms over their heads and changes everything for them. Edmund looks up, his eyes widening. A legendary frost wyvern is descending from the sky above the city. The beast power makes their skin crawl as it lands. Savina, sitting atop its back, gives a sweet smile. Long time no see, Mr. Edmund. I have brought the ice you were waiting for. Edmund is ecstatic. He knew the magic swordsman would not break his word, but he is still in shock. It was actually a frost wyvern. A monster that could solo a night order is being used as a delivery truck. What exactly did the Baron do up north? Savina suddenly remembers her final task. She looks at Edmund with a serious expression on her face. Master asked me to deliver this letter to her. Edmund grins. He really is a romantic. Inside the royal palace, Princess Ashilda sits in silence. Opposite her sits a very unwelcome and arrogant guest. Your Highness, thank you for coming. It is Justin, the annoying son of Duke Icarus. Justin sips his wine, annoyed by her icy attitude. She will not even give him a single fake smile. But the challenge excites him. One day, he will be the one to melt that cold heart. You and I both know exactly who is really on her mind, and just watch how fast her cold expression changes. A maid whispers that a letter arrived from Baron Blizzard. Ashilda stands up instantly. Princess, wait. I have been here all morning. Justin shouts, but she does not care. Your training is already taking up your time. Do not waste it here, she says to him sharply. Before he can utter another word, she is gone. Justin fury boils over as he watches her leave. He slams the table, his eyes turning dark. One day, I will make you learn what I am capable of. Alone in her room, Ishilda tears open the envelope. To my dear Princess Ishilda, with affection. He writes that he has been worried, but her lucky charm has kept everything going smoothly. He describes the beautiful north, including the warm hot springs and the glowing crystal caves. I have built a city called White Ice Castle. It is stunning, but it has one fatal flaw. The flaw is your absence. Without you, this place feels completely empty to me. Enclosed is a gift to show how much I miss you. Signed, Baron Blizzard. Ishilda looks at the crystallized flower, its cold glow dazzling her. She gently presses the flower to her chest. And that is where we leave her wondering why she cannot stop thinking about him. What a cliffhanger. All right. You and I are jumping into the moment. Isilda slams her hand down, eyeing that radiant ice flower. Isilda is determined. She must see him. Meanwhile, in a northern cave, Seal Mudok is frantically refining crystal flowers. But in a sudden flash, the flower in his hand shatters into useless dust. Seal Mudok frowns. He is a master of destruction, but this delicate control is just not his strong suit. Jerome rushes in, looking completely stressed. Please come to the office. We have an urgent situation to discuss. A major discovery was made. That old library is actually a hidden ruin left by ancient powerful magicians. Lee Mudok stays calm though. So what if some ancient mages left a few dusty books behind? Jerome is speechless at his master's cold indifference. This is the cultural heritage of humanity. A chance to restore lost magic and break through the fifth circle. Suddenly, Seal senses a very subtle aura. He stares at Jerome. Something feels off about your waist. Jerome immediately feels a massive headache coming on. It is nothing important. That thing is worthless. So I did not think it was worth a report. With a simple pull, Seal Mudok snatches the bundle right off Jerome's waist from across the room. Jerome panics, making Seal even more curious. But when he opens the bundle, the contents leave him totally confused. Inside are small blue stones that look exactly like ice crystals. Jerome explains these are mana stones, rare ores filled with energy. Seal tosses them onto the table. Why hide them? What was your plan? Jerome is already a fourth circle mage, but he has been stuck at that fifth circle barrier for a long time. So, after finding these stones, he wanted to use them. He hoped for a breakthrough. Seal Mudok just watches him in total silence. Breaking through is hard, and Seal understands the frustration. But then, his voice turns even colder than before. Now watch this tension. Jerome claims it helps the territory, but Seal Mudok refuses to bend the rules. Jerome begs for permission, but Seal Mudok rejects the idea immediately. Absolutely impossible. Using objects to force a level up will only cause a bigger bottleneck later. The stones are not the answer. Real breakthroughs come from true comprehension and hard effort. Time proves growth. No shortcuts allowed. Jerome falls silent, realizing his master is right about his own journey. Seal Mudok places a hand on Jerome's shoulder. Do not rush. Climb one step at a time, then you will see. Jerome's heart shakes. He realized he had completely forgotten the wise teachings his own grandfather gave him. But when Jerome explains the true purpose of these mana stones, Seal Mudok's expression shifts in an instant. These stones can actually be used for communication. Cast a bit of magic, and even people without any mana can converse through them easily. The range is insane, ignoring almost all boundaries across the world. You and I both know information is power, and Seal Mudok is about to change everything with one order. Back in the office, Seal Mudok gives the final command. In White Ice Castle, everyone immediately starts testing the stones to see if the magic works. Seal Mudok listens to the voice in his palm. I can hear you, Jack. Jack is trembling with excitement. Right then, Jack is flying 10 kilometers away from White Ice Castle in the open sky. Circling on a wyvern, Jack confirms the signal is perfect. Seal Mudok notices there is zero static noise. The experiment is a success. Suddenly, someone else arrives. Savina has returned on her wyvern. In the meeting room, Seal Mudok reads the intelligence she brought back. Edmund compiled details on all the surrounding kingdoms, and it was far more thorough than Seal expected. But one specific name in the report makes Seal Mudok feel very uneasy. Who is Anus? Seal Mudok asks the room in a low voice. Chouette looks toward him with an answer. I know him. Rumor says he is a top-tier sword saint. Marcus and Jerome look horrified. A sword saint is at the pinnacle, but a top-tier version is on a different level entirely. Seal Mudok raises his hand, and the entire room falls into a heavy silence. A top-tier sword saint is equal to the realm of perfection. At that stage, they can condense a sword pill. You and I need to see this. Alright, you and I are about to see Seal Mudok finally get what he wanted. Since arriving here, he thought Realm of Perfection experts were rare, which honestly just left him disappointed. But now, Enos had finally appeared, and Seal Mudok was itching to face the strongest sword in this world. Shu stood up, adding that this specific sword saint had one very unique trait. Whenever he uses his legendary swordsmanship, the distinct fragrance of plum blossoms fills the air. Those few words hit Seal Mudok like a physical blow, making his heart race with sudden intensity. Back in the Central Plains, there was a sword art that also left the scent of plum blossoms, the Hushan sect. A cold chill suddenly ran down Seal Mudok's spine. He wondered if he was actually the only person who had been reincarnated into this world. When he had unified the Central Plains, the dying Hashan leader gave him a final warning. The old man claimed that if his eldest disciple were still alive, the ending of their war would have been completely different. That legendary man had vanished after entering deep seclusion, as if he had simply been erased from the face of the earth. Seal Mudok once thought those were just the ramblings of a dying loser, but now it seemed real. This destined battle could no longer be avoided. Right at that moment, the Royal Knight Order finally completed their long journey and arrived in the Northern Territory. Leading the Knight Order was Justin, the son of Duke Icarus. He looked at him and asked if his injured arm was finally feeling any better. Justin gripped the arm that had been ruined before, and the stinging memory of his humiliation came rushing back once again. Now watch this. While Justin fumed, the main character did not even look at him. He simply called out for the princess to stop hiding and finally show herself. He told her that a reunion after such a long time should be a happy occasion and asked how she had been lately. Seal Mudok led Ishilda to the hidden crystal cave he had described in his letter. With just one look, Ishilda could not even begin to hide her pure joy. She gasped, telling him that this place was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. He heard that after Ishilda read his letter, she begged her father for ages until he finally let her travel with the knights. Seeing her innocent face made him certain. Her stubborn nature had not changed at all, making her almost an exact copy of Wayne from his previous life. His heart was a mess. To avenge Wayne in his past life, he had basically trampled the entire martial arts world under his feet. After so many crazy twists and turns, he had unexpectedly found his way back to her in this new world. Her title was different now, but for him, just having her here was enough. Beside the hot spring, Ishilda smiled like snow melting in the sun. She repeated how beautiful the cave was, and in that quiet moment, Seal Mudok slowly reached out his hand toward her. The second his fingers touched her hair, his walls crumbled. He could not hold back his feelings anymore and pulled her into a tight, desperate embrace. He whispered that she was even more beautiful than the view. Ishilda's heart started racing wildly, and her sharp gaze finally began to soften. Years of bottled-up pain finally broke loose as he whispered, "Wayne, I have missed you so much." And just like that, the mood died. You saw that too, right? Both of them in that cave immediately sensed that something had gone terribly wrong. Ishilda's look turned ice-cold instantly. She demanded to know who that woman was, calling him Baron Blizzard. Seal Mudok felt a massive headache coming on as he claimed he simply misspoke. Ishilda felt her heart drop into her stomach. She had truly believed that in Seal Mudok's world, she was the only one who ever mattered. But today, the painful truth finally set in. She lost all control as hurt and bitterness took over, her voice shaking with every word she spoke. She asked him if this was the love he promised, or if he was actually just projecting his love for a woman named Wayne onto her. Seeing the deep pain and misunderstanding in her eyes, Seal Mudok was completely paralyzed. Without another word, Ishilda turned around and began to walk away. She gave him one last look of pure disappointment, telling him not to bother explaining because the answer was already obvious to her. Watching her walk away, Seal Mudok was left standing there with a mouth full of bitterness and words he could not say. He knew that even if he told her the truth, she would never understand. Amidst the freezing wind and snow, he turned and walked in the opposite direction. His heart was racing. Maybe time would heal what words could not, but at that exact moment, an assassin suddenly lunged from the shadows behind him. The lethal strike came out of nowhere, moving with the terrifying speed of a lightning bolt. The wind was freezing, and the necklace he always carried was knocked away, falling into the snow. The scene shifted to the darkness, where Justin's face looked like stone. He asked how the target was doing, and an assassin named Nelson reported that the hit on the main character was a total success. Hearing that news, a truly wicked and twisted smile slowly began to spread across Justin's lips. Outside the castle guest rooms, 2 guards stood on high alert. Inside, Princess Ishilda was crying her eyes out. She called him an idiot, sobbing that he should have at least tried to make her stay. Just then, a guard at the door called out, telling her that she had a visitor waiting to see her. That news actually cheered her up a bit, as she opened the door thinking it was him coming back to say he was sorry. What she saw instead was a nightmare. Justin had a completely crazed look on his face, standing over the 2 guards who were already lying in pools of blood. He looked at the terrified princess and apologized for dropping by to disturb her so late in the evening. Her face turned deathly pale from pure terror, and in the next heartbeat, she slammed the door shut. "Stick with me," because things are about to get even crazier. Stick with me, Justin. Just slice the doorknob right off with one clean strike. He swings wildly, literally chopping the door into splinters, and the force sends Princess Ishilda flying back into the room. Justin grins, bragging that his sword is magically enchanted, as Ishilda screams at him for his absolute audacity. He killed her guards and just barged into her private room. Justin grabs her chin, telling her anyone who gets in his way is as good as dead. He is furious that she ignored him to chase after some guy with a mysterious past. Justin is acting completely insane, claiming the man is already dead because he sent an elite group of assassins to finish the job. He reaches for her, boasting that the ambush worked and there won't even be a body left to find. Ishilda's heart drops. Baron Blizzard cannot be dead, right? Now watch this. A figure strikes from the shadows, slamming Justin directly into the stone wall with a single palm. The shockwave blasts a massive hole through the masonry as Ishilda slowly looks up to see exactly who just arrived. All the fear and pain she was holding back just explodes, and she can barely even keep her feet. Seal Mudok looks at her calmly and apologizes for being late, but a sudden sense of danger hits him as the sword from Justin's hand flies through the air on its own, aiming for a lethal kill. Seal Mudok loses his footing for a split second and cannot quite dodge it perfectly. The sword misses and zips back into the shadows, glowing with a strange and eerie violet light. A hand reaches out from the dark and firmly catches the hilt. Seal Mudok shields Ishilda, thinking this is just another one of Justin's tricks, until a knight holding the sword steps out of the darkness. It is his father, Duke Icarus, wearing magic armor and wielding a magic sword specifically to kill Seal Mudok. With that gear, even a top-tier sword saint would die, and Justin starts laughing like a complete psycho. He asks Baron Blizzard if things feel a little different this time around. You and I can see the smoke clearing as Seal Mudok stands his ground, his voice cold as iron. He finally has a real reason to kill him. Seeing Ishilda's worried face, he silently signals for her to step back and stay safe. She stares at his back and asks with a trembling voice if he will really return. He turns back with an unusually gentle look, telling her not to be afraid and to find a safe place before launching himself at Justin. Seal Mudok realizes that Justin really is a different beast now. Justin charges with his magic sword, glowing with a violet aura, and asks if the boring lectures are starting again. The magic blade slashes down, but Seal Mudok just flicks it away with his fingers, completely shattering the momentum. With eyes cold as ice, he watches the sword return to Justin's hand before the villain lunges once more. This time, Seal Mudok actually uses his bare arm to block the strike. The magic energy surges, pushing Seal Mudok back, and Justin does not give him a single second to catch his breath. Justin gets more excited as the fight goes on, convinced that he is finally forcing Seal Mudok into a corner. He thinks the assassins exhausted him and speeds up, certain this is his one chance to land a killing blow. Suddenly, a flash of light grazes his face, and a piece of his magic armor shatters into tiny pieces. Shards fly. Justin panics. It is that same move from before, and with his armor broken, Justin's advantage completely vanishes while he instinctively clutches his old wound. He was worried the fight would hurt Ishilda, but it looks like he was worrying for absolutely nothing. A cold chill grips Justin's heart. Was he just faking it to get the fight away from the princess? Suddenly, a freezing light bursts from Seal Mudok's hand. If you touch Ishilda, you pay the price. Justin feels a heavy, invisible pressure making it impossible to breathe. He tries one final, desperate strike, but we both know it is already way too late for him. Seal Mudok's icy energy takes form, and as it sweeps over Justin, his entire body just freezes in place. A blinding flash of cold light explodes. Seal Mudok was only being this careful for one very specific reason. He cannot lose her again. A cold radiance fills the air, and as the light fades, Justin's arrogance is finally broken. You and I just saw a legend born as Justin stands there trembling in the snow, paralyzed with pure terror. Alright, you and I are watching as Seal Mudok finally breaks his rival, mocking him for even trying to fight back. I have already destroyed your mana core. From this day on, for the rest of your life, you will never be able to use magic again. Hearing those words, Justin felt as though he had just plunged into a deep, icy abyss. In total despair, he tried one last punch to fight back, but it only ended up making his humiliation even worse. Seal Mudok slammed him into the snow with a single palm strike. He told him to spend his life regretting tonight's choices. Now, you are the exact kind of weakling you used to trample on. Just then, the sun finally began to rise. Seal Mudok blocked the morning light with his hand. It was getting late, and he knew he had to return. After all, Ishilda was still back at the castle worrying, and just like that, Justin's entire scheme was completely over. A warm smile actually touched Seal Mudok's face. The trouble was dealt with, and now, all that mattered was his date with Ishilda. But what he saw next made him freeze. What on earth was happening? What was Jerome even doing? Now stick with me, we are jumping back 15 minutes to when Seal Mudok had every single soldier searching for his lost necklace. It has to be nearby. Search faster. Whoever finds that pendant first is getting a massive reward. Jerome walked over to his side, confirming he was ambushed right here when he lost that precious heirloom. The assassins were high level, so how did you escape untouched? Seal Mudok just scoffed, calling them total weaklings. His voice was cold and hard. They only know how to hide and sneak attack. Just a bunch of losers. If I did not have to save Ishilda, I would not have even been scratched. Jerome just gave a quick, half-hearted nod. Sure, you are the strongest and always right. Suddenly, Ishilda's voice called out from right behind them. So you really lost it because of me? They turned to see Ishilda, her face stained with fresh tears. You would have found it if you looked right away. But you did not, all because you chose to save me. Seal Mudok panicked, telling her not to blame herself. It was all that bastard Justin's fault, right, Jerome? Ishilda was shocked to see the other man there too. Wait, why is Count Jerome here? I heard you vanished. Seal Mudok's face immediately soured at her question. Jerome just gave an awkward smile, saying that is just how it is. I know you are happy, but this is a bit much. A sharp flash of jealousy suddenly flickered in Seal Mudok's eyes. You two seem pretty close. Jerome scrambled to explain it was not what it looked like. Really now? Well, it looks exactly like that to me. Lancia whispered that the princess should probably clear up this misunderstanding fast. Seal Mudok frowned, remembering Jerome was her most respected noble. Ishilda simply nodded and spoke in a soft voice. Yes, Count Jerome is a remarkable man. He was a noble who actually cared about his people. I was devastated when he was exiled to this wasteland. You have no idea how much it hurt to hear he disappeared. Seal Mudok and Jerome shared a look. I see. But why did you never mention any of that? Jerome shrugged, asking who brags about their own good deeds. Seal Mudok then asked why she said used to be. You and I both know that look, she blushed, saying everything changed once she met him. Ishilda quickly ran off, changing the subject. Right, you were looking for your pendant, so I will go check over there. The maid chased after her. After running for a bit, the princess stopped, trying to calm her racing heart and catch her breath. Suddenly, she spotted something on the ground glowing with a soft purple light. She reached down, and as if guided by fate, she actually found the lost necklace. As she handed the necklace back to Seal Mudok, strange memories of a past life started awakening within her dreams. A woman named Wayne shared a deep bond with Baron Blizzard. In her dream, she called him brother with real affection. Ishilda should have been jealous, but instead, she felt a strange emotion she could not even put into words. Seal Mudok suddenly spoke, breaking her train of thought. He turned and gestured for her to follow him. Princess, want to take a trip and clear your head? Suddenly, a massive frost wyvern descended from the clouds above. The beast's massive shadow terrified the maid so much that she collapsed right there on the spot. But Ishilda's eyes sparkled. She could not stop herself from cheering, far too excited to keep it inside. I have never seen anyone tame so many frost wyverns before. Just then, Jack and Jerome walked over to join them. My lord, we are ready to leave. Seal Mudok just nodded and asked if the item was prepared yet. A snowball suddenly shot over, scaring the maid onto the ground. Trust me, you and I are ready for what happens next. Alright, stick with me that little snowball is actually the terrifying condor in a transformed state. Seal Mudok had Jerome shrink him down just for this trip. The snowman who once inspired terror is now just a pampered pet for a shield. Seeing her genuine joy, Seal Mudok finally felt a hint of satisfaction. Everything was set, and it was finally time to move out. Mounting the massive wyvern, Seal Mudok reached down and offered a hand to Ishilda, inviting her to join him. Ishilda looked up at him for a moment before Seal Mudok gripped her hand and pulled her effortlessly up beside him. The frost wyvern's giant silhouette cut across the northern sky. Wrapped in Seal Mudok's arms, Ishilda felt an unexpected sense of safety. However, her fear of heights was still hard to shake. Sensing her panic, Seal Mudok gently rested a hand on her shoulder. Now pay attention here. He tells her to look ahead, and when Ishilda opens her eyes, she's completely frozen by the view. The soft glow of the sunset pierced through the clouds, painting the sky in colors so brilliant they literally stole her breath away. High up on the wyvern's back, Seal Mudok leaned in close to her ear and whispered softly. He asks if she feels better, and Ishilda's heart instantly melts. A faint, gentle smile begins to play on her lips. She realizes he's been looking out for her this whole time. Looking at Seal Mudok, she thanks him for the thoughtful arrangement. Seal Mudok holds her tighter, telling her to hold on firm. It's time to accelerate. The wyvern tears through the starlit sky as the gap between them narrows. Soon, they arrive at an estate in the Gaia Kingdom. Rhea is caught off guard when she sees Seal Mudok. She asks why he didn't send word before showing up out of nowhere. Seal Mudok just gives a faint smile. He's only there to unwind, leaving Jerome to handle all the heavy lifting for once. Nothing matters more than his date with Ishilda right now. He tells her this manor was prepared specifically for her arrival. As Ishilda turns to him, she accidentally catches another glimpse of the mysterious pendant hanging around his neck. Flashbacks from her dream start surfacing again, but Seal Mudok's voice suddenly pulls her back to reality. He asks if she's alright, and Eshelda admits she had a really strange dream the night before. The dream was full of bizarre buildings and people. She was 20 years old there, with fair skin, black hair, and dark eyes. But she felt so much sorrow. She remembers her father desperately trying to block her from getting married. Eshelda gives an awkward little smile, saying it was just a very strange dream. Seal Mudok already has a good idea of what's happening. His fingers instinctively tighten around the necklace. Okay, I know what you're thinking, this is the big reveal. She mentions that in the dream, she was calling for her brother. Hearing that, Seal Mudok's expression wavers. In his incredibly long life, only one person has ever used that name for him. Eshelda notices his strange reaction and worriedly asks Baron Blizzard if he's doing okay. Seal Mudok grips the necklace tight, admitting he lost his cool. Soon, night falls and the two sit down for dinner. But then, Eshelda makes a sudden request. Being called princess all the time makes her feel like there's a huge distance between them. She looks a bit conflicted and asks him if he could just call her Eshelda from now on. A flicker of surprise hits Seal Mudok's eyes as shadows of the past rise up in his heart once again. A moment later, he smiles and agrees. Time slips by and their dinner together finally comes to an end. Jerome walks in right on cue to check on Seal Mudok, asking if they've finished their meal yet. He reports that he's already handled the business over in Skirton and has just returned. The name Skirton makes Eshelda freeze. Back in the Kingdom of Drake, she had never heard of such a place. Seal Mudok looks at her and realizes he forgot to mention Skirton isn't in Drake, it's actually in the Kingdom of Gaia. Hearing this, Eshelda is stunned. The Kingdom of Gaia is located way out in the northwest of the continent. It's a massive, powerful kingdom that's been ruled by queens for generations. Because of its female rulers, the world knows it as the Kingdom of Women. Their strength is legendary. Gaia's Knight Order is made up entirely of women and rivals the strongest knights in any kingdom. Unease washes over Eshelda. She didn't expect to travel to such a distant and powerful land so suddenly. She worries her presence might cause diplomatic issues, but she lets Jerome continue with his report. Jerome looks pleased, mentioning that the ogre leather they've been supplying to Gaia is becoming a huge hit. Rhea even suggested building a factory right there to start making finished leather products instead of just selling the raw materials. So what do you and I take from this? Even in a world of magic and queens, a good business move is always king. Alright, you and I are diving back into the world of Seal Mudok, where business is about to get fashionable. If we turn these hides into luxury apparel and handbags, our profits will skyrocket compared to just selling raw leather. Plus, Rhea is connected with the top leather workers in Karen. Give the order, my lord, and we can start production today. Seal Mudok gives a subtle nod of approval. Putting the merchant group in Rhea's hands was definitely the right move. Proceed with the plan. Jerome bows deeply, promising to handle the arrangements immediately. But suddenly, a massive commotion breaks out just outside the doors. They rush outside to see flames lighting up the night sky. Jerome pales the fire is dangerously close to their merchant guild. If they don't stop it now, the entire building will be reduced to ash. Seal Mudok tells Jerome and Izelda to stay put before leaping straight into the heart of the inferno. The scene is a total nightmare. The heat is unbearable, keeping everyone back. Up close, Seal Mudok realizes this disaster is even worse than he feared. Just then, he hears footsteps. Jerome and Izelda ignored his orders and followed him into the danger zone. Izelda quickly explains that she just couldn't stay behind while he was in danger. Suddenly, Seal Mudok hears a desperate cry from the flames. Now watch closely, this is where he truly steps up. Without a second thought, he dives into the fire, smashing through a window to enter the burning structure. Surrounded by choking black smoke and roaring flames, Seal Mudok channels a massive surge of icy inner power into his palm. A split second later, a freezing shockwave erupts. The frost snakes across the floor, instantly turning the fire into ice. The clash of heat and cold creates a deafening roar. The unstoppable inferno is suddenly frozen solid. That is when Seal Mudok finds a woman lying unconscious on the floor. He checks the pulse at her neck. She is a survivor, he whispers, surprised she is still clinging to life. As he picks her up, the ceiling begins to cave in. Burning debris falls toward them from every direction. Seal Mudok's icy aura explodes outward once again. The entire building is instantly encased in a layer of absolute zero energy. Jerome watches in total shock, his mind racing. I know what you're thinking, witnessing 8th or even 9th circle magic is mind-blowing. Through the freezing mist, Seal Mudok slowly walks out with the woman on his shoulder. In a hazy memory, a man speaks with gravity. I have seen the first signs of rebellion. The princess's eyes flash like steel. Who would dare? But then, the vision begins to fade into a blur. The woman finally opens her eyes, looking around the room in a total daze. Where am I? She pushes the door open, her gaze sharpening as she steps out into the light. She doesn't recognize a single face. Rhea steps forward, relieved she is finally awake. She asks if the woman feels okay and explains that she is currently at the Caloran Merchant Group's headquarters. The woman nods. So this is the famous group known for their leather trade. But why do you not know who I am? Are you not citizens of Gaia? Rhea explains that they are actually from the Kingdom of Great, hence the name Caloran Merchant Group. The woman narrows her eyes. Who saved me? Rhea introduces their leader, Baron Blizzard. She walks up to Seal Mudok and offers her thanks. My name is Sylar McMahon, she says calmly. The room goes dead silent. Sylar is actually the second princess of the entire Kingdom of Gaia. She achieved the Sword Saint realm at only 15 and serves as the kingdom's Night Order commander, making her a legendary figure. Rhea immediately drops into a bow. She begs for forgiveness, while Azelda worries that her own secret identity might be exposed here. Meeting a princess is a recipe for disaster. Sylar turns her focus back to Seal Mudok. Since you saved my life, I will reward you. Join me at the palace after dinner tonight. Seeing Izelda's fear, Seal Mudok doesn't hesitate. He looks Sylar in the eye and flatly refuses her invitation. I'm leaving. Sylar is furious. And trust me, you and I are about to see some fireworks. This is a disaster. You and I both know snubbing the royal family of Gaia is a death wish. Rhea jumps in to fix the vibe. Maybe our master is just a little starstruck in your highness's presence? She quickly pivots. By the way, what was a royal doing inside a massive building on fire? Sylar's mind goes straight to Duke Dayton. That bastard tried to kill me. Her face is filled with pure disgust. It was just some low-life scum trying to take my head. They torched the place to erase the evidence. She looks at Seal Mudok. Either way, you saved my life. Name your price. But right then, her stomach growls at the worst possible time. Seal gives her a look. Forget the deal. Just eat something. He completely brushes off her royal attitude. You have been starving since last night. Sit down and share a meal with us. Annoyed but hungry, Sylar finally gives in and sits down to eat with them. But then she spots something, a long sword leaning against the wall. She can't resist. Who owns that sword? Seal Mudok just says, mine. Sylar freezes instantly. You are a swordsman? I am the commander of the Night Order, and I want to see your skills. Baron Blizzard, let's duel after we eat. Seal's eyes go stone cold. I refuse. I do not waste time sparring with people weaker than me. Since she was a woman, many male swordsmen ducked her challenge invitations, and there was only one way to force them to accept. Stick with me, she is playing him. You are just scared of losing, aren't you? That did it. Seal stands up, blade in hand. Fine. Let's go outside. I'll show you a few things. They head to the manor grounds. Jerome looks like he is about to have a heart attack. Remember, she is a princess. Please go easy on her. Sylar is done talking. Are we fighting or not? She has beaten countless guys like him. In the end, they all end up beneath her blade. I cannot wait to watch your face twist in pain when I am finally done with you. Sylar grips her hilt. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light reflects off the steel. A cold glare sweeps across Seal's vision instantly. A massive sonic boom suddenly shatters the silence. In a single heartbeat, Sylar has already charged right into his personal space. Yet Seal just tilts his sword and slips to the side, effortless. Sylar regains her footing. Whoever blocked that thrust is definitely not a fraud. She spins with her blade, trying to catch his back. In an instant, Seal shifts again, dodging the steel. She slashes hard. Before the momentum even fades, Sylar follows up with a lightning backhand strike. Seal just parries lightly and steps back with the flow of her movement. In a blur of motion, Sylar fires off several waves of lethal sword chi. You and I can see it, he is blocking everything with tiny movements. This guy is insane. She lunges again, her body following the blade as it sweeps across the ground, sending out a massive shockwave that forces Seal high into the sky. Giving him zero room to breathe, Sylar immediately charges after him. She is right in front of him instantly. She spins, whipping out a heavy sidekick that strikes his sword. This woman is a beast. That kick sends Seal flying 100 meters back. He slowly stands up. Her constant pressure is like a master who has pushed her techniques to the absolute limit. If I keep playing defense, she will level the manor. Seal finally counterattacks, his blade striking in a burst of light. Sylar finds a gap and throws another brutal back kick. Seal raises his sword to block. Before she can recover, he slams a punch into her stomach, folding her body forward with tremendous power. At the same time, Seal's hand clamps tightly around her throat. With a quick burst of force, Sylar is slammed hard into the dirt. She looks up to find Seal's blade pressed against her neck. It is over. Jerome rushes forward to intervene immediately. Both of you are incredible warriors. Let's call it a draw and end this for today. Sylar's face is dark. She demands a rematch immediately, or she will file a formal protest against the kingdom. Everyone panics the moment she says that. They all start begging her not to involve international politics over a duel. And that is where you and I leave it. Knowing when to admit defeat is the true mark of a warrior. You and I are about to see a princess get a massive reality check as Sylar struggles to stand. She charges at Seal Mudok again, but he just ignores her. A sword shadow flickers in the air, and suddenly, a cold blade is inches from her eyes. Seal Mudok steps forward with cold steel in hand, finally forcing the princess to halt her desperate attack. The massive power gap drops Sylar to her knees. She couldn't even see the trajectory of Seal Mudok's sword as it moved. Seal Mudok's gaze turns ice cold. Is this how your kingdom treats the man who saved your life? He only showed mercy because of her title, but Sylar is spiraling. Why can't I win this fight? Was her entire life just a lie? From childhood until now, she had always taken first place in every single swordsmanship tournament. Her mother always promised she would become the legendary sword saint of the Gaia kingdom. But today, her pride as the sword saint was easily crushed. The title she cherished was treated like absolute nothing. Who is this man? Iselda rushes to Seal Mudok's side while he turns his attention toward Ashelda. They leave for Quran tomorrow, so he suggests a stroll through the city first. Seal Mudok takes Ashelda by the arm and walks away. Seal Mudok tells Jerome to go buy him a few more swords right away. Stick with me here, because Sylar is watching them closely as they walk away, her mind racing with brand new questions. She asks Jerome if the woman traveling with Baron Blizzard is actually the man's wife. Jerome won't say much, only that she comes from a very distinguished family. Sylar looks down and falls into deep thought. So, he's still single. She immediately orders a carriage to take her back to the royal palace. Her mind is a mess of secrets and new ambitions. For the first time, she met someone even stronger than her. She wonders if meeting him earlier would have changed her entire destiny. Before long, the princess is back within the palace walls. She investigates Baron Dayton, only to find him dead in his own cellar, with a mysterious letter still gripped in his hand. The letter claims he had no choice because his family was being held hostage. Sylar's eyes turn sharp and resolute. They tried to kill her first, and then they silenced the Baron to cover their tracks. In the game of power, there is never any mercy. You and I probably suspected this, but the mastermind is her own elder sister, a snake hiding behind a fake smile. With King Malova's birthday approaching, Sylar asks her sister for a visit. Her sister just teases her with a look of pure amusement. She jokes about the savior from the Drake Kingdom, but Seal Mudok doesn't care about any of that. He is back at White Ice Castle. Meanwhile, the Duke uses his massive power to protect his criminal son, Justin. The Duke orders his man, Ross, to start causing trouble for the merchant group from Caloran. Iselda also begins her journey back to the safety of the royal palace. Before they parted, Seal Mudok gave her a communication stone so they could talk whenever they wanted. With danger lurking everywhere, Seal Mudok knows he needs to build up his own army, and fast. The assassins Justin sent were crushed and locked away in a secret prison by our main character. Now, Seal Mudok plans to turn these killers against the very master who sent them. Most of them are weak, but 2 among the group actually show some real potential for his plans. Combining these assassins with his wyvern riders, that is going to lead to some insane results. Seal Mudok decides the king's birthday is the perfect time to make his move into the political world. Knight Commander Chouette arrives, just as Seal Mudok gives the assassins 2 choices: serve him or die. He tells them they aren't good enough yet, but he has a special training prepared to make them much stronger than before. It's time for some training to push their limits. Grab the weapons and take down the knights outside. The assassins gear up, their killing intent condensing as they stand ready to strike. In the forest, 3 assassins drop into their deadly battle stances. Suddenly, a training opponent bursts out from the deep woods. One assassin blocks a heavy blow with a shield before grabbing the attacker by the shoulders. The opponent is slammed into the snow as the assassins strip the metal from his body. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see how these assassins turn out. Alright, you and I are about to watch the moment a cold-blooded assassin squad truly begins to take shape. The rules were brutally simple. Everyone carried a single medal, and losing that medal meant certain death. Lose all the medals, and you lose the game. It is harsh, but it is the fastest way to force growth. Get eliminated or get stronger, there is no in-between. That is exactly how Seal Mudok likes it. He looks out toward the horizon where a tracking magic signal just flickered to life once again. Every assassin is marked with magic. If they step 1 foot outside the boundary, the alarm goes off. A man sprints desperately through the snow until a chilling voice stops him cold. Miller, this is attempt number 10. Miller freezes, trembling. He looks up and sees that one figure he can never escape. Seal Mudok's voice is ice cold. I warned you one more time, and you are a dead man. Miller can barely breathe. I do not have time for these games. Watch closely. In one blink, a strike hits his neck and he is out cold. Beck, the leader of the assassin squad, drops to one knee immediately. Please, forgive us, my lord. Have mercy and spare us just this once. Mudok looks down. Why is this guy so hell-bent on running away? Beck explains it is about revenge. When Miller was a kid, his entire family was slaughtered right in front of him. He found out the man responsible is attending the royal banquet in the kingdom's capital next month. Mudok goes silent as the snow swirls. Later, inside White Ice Castle, Miller finally opens his eyes. I stare out the window. King Drake's birthday bash will have hundreds of high-ranking knights on guard. Do you honestly think you can sneak in alone and take down your target? Miller looks at me. Beck told you, did he? He clenches his fist. Revenge is the only reason I am alive. If I get my payback, I do not care if I die. I turn around to face him. Let me be clear, you will not even be able to get close to your enemy. You will just throw your life away for nothing. But I am attending as a noble, so let us make a deal. I will help you get your revenge. In return, you swear your total loyalty to me. Miller narrows his eyes. Why help me? There are plenty of killers way stronger than I am. I just look at him. You and I both know potential when we see it. You are the youngest top-tier assassin around, and that is why I want you. My new assassination squad needs someone like you right now. So, are you in or out? Memories of pure hatred burn through his veins. Miller drops to his knees before Mudok. For revenge, I will do anything. Mudok is pleased with the result. We are heading out in a few days. Get ready to move. Suddenly, Savina bursts in with a huge smile on her face, looking right at her master. Master, the ice cream is done. Come and get it. But as soon as Miller sees her, he completely freezes. His hand goes to his chest as his heart starts racing. Could it be her? Meanwhile, Mudok and his captains are reporting. Suddenly, Jack slams the door open, looking absolutely livid and out of breath. I have had enough. That complete bastard has blocked off every single land route. Mudok just looks up lazily. Relax, Jack. Start from the beginning and explain it clearly. Turns out Viscount Ross has been harassing the Calaran merchant caravan, and now he has shut down the road entirely. Mudok looks at him. So take a detour, or use the frost wyverns. Problem solved, right? But Jerome steps in. The wyverns cannot carry everything. Some of these goods have to go by land. And if we want to reach the capital, Tot City is the only way through. With the king's birthday coming up, Ross blocking the road is a clear move to keep us away. Mudok's face darkens. I have no beef with him, so why the attitude? Jerome explains that Ross is actually working for Duke Icarus. This happens right after Justin gets back. There is an 80% chance Icarus is the one pulling the strings. Mudok lets out a cold laugh. Hey, they started this. They cannot complain when I hit back twice as hard. Jerome nearly jumps out of his skin. My lord, are you actually talking about a territorial war? A territorial war means all-out combat between lords, and even the king cannot step in to stop it. Normally, you would have to tell the king and issue a formal declaration of war to your opponent first. But there is a loophole. Win the fight before the king hears, and trust me, you and I will see how messy this gets. All right, stick with me. Our lead is finally ready to make his move. It was time to test everything he had prepared. In an instant, Seal Mudok issued the final command. Chouette, leave only a skeleton crew here and mobilize immediately. He then turned his gaze toward Marcus. Order the assassins to hold their positions and send Miller ahead to scout Tot City. He then looked at Jack. Go prepare the Wyvern Rider Corps for battle. Jack was deeply worried the Knight Corps only had 20 men, and that seemed far too few to win a territorial war. Seal Mudok's icy gaze bore into him. Too few? Are you really fit to lead the Wyvern Rider Corps? You have been training these beasts day and night. Do you still doubt the sheer power they possess? Jack stood tall and accepted the command. We may be few, but our wyverns are anything but weak. Jerome was still terrified. Gambling with the lives of innocent residents in such a reckless war felt way too risky. Viscount Ross was still holding 6,000 helpless residents as human shields for his twisted game. Once the fighting starts, those residents are as good as dead. What was worse, Tot City's forces outnumbered them by more than 10 to 1. If they received any support from Duke Icarus, the entire situation would become a nightmare. Seal Mudok just looked at him coldly. 2 days. Watch closely, because he plans to end this entire battle before the enemy even realizes it started. He brushed past the strategist. Jerome, if you want to lead, never show fear in front of your men. Stepping outside, Seal Mudok looked over his forces. Is everything ready? The Calaran army stood in perfect formation. Everyone, this is Karan's official declaration of war. Meanwhile, back in Tot City, Ross was busy arresting every Calaran resident he could find. To him, his master plan was absolutely flawless. Karan was a frozen wasteland, completely dependent on outside food to survive. The terrain was a nightmare, blocked by mountains. Without passing through Tot City, reaching the capital was impossible. Every noble was required to attend the king's birthday banquet, so if Blizzard failed to show up, he would be stripped of his title, leaving Ross perfectly positioned to seize Calaran for himself. It was his ticket to Duke Icarus's favor, potentially earning him the title of Count or even Marquis. As he trembled with greed, a massive, dark shadow suddenly loomed outside his office window. A frost wyvern smashed through the glass, with Seal Mudok standing calmly on its back like a god. A flash of light whistled past Ross's ear. This is Karan's official declaration of war. I will be back to collect the city in exactly 2 hours. Soldiers lined the battlements while civilians huddled at the gate. Ross was practically shaking with sadistic excitement. Come on then. If you want this city, you will have to slaughter your own people first. The entire Caloran army stood ready on the plains. Then, Seal Mudok gave the final order. Begin the assault. From the high walls, Ross looked down at the coming storm. A swarm of frost wyverns descended from the sky like a literal blizzard. Ross froze in terror. Now pay attention here. Every single wyvern was carrying a massive boulder, raining down a hail of crushing stone that sent the entire city into absolute chaos. A few stray boulders missed the walls, hurtling toward the crowds of innocent civilians below. Right then, Jerome stepped in. A massive magic circle erupted from his palm, freezing the falling stones mid-air. The war horn screamed as Marcus led his knights in a thunderous charge. The Caloran warriors were absolute monsters on the field, their massive axes swinging like scythes and scattering the defenders in pure panic. Since when did this army become so terrifyingly strong? A massive frost wyvern slammed onto the wall, and its roar was enough to shatter anyone's spirit. From high above, Seal Mudok kept his eyes locked onto every single movement on the battlefield. He was ready to intervene at any second. Then, right in front of an armed squad, Seal Mudok floated down to the ground. The knights felt their skin crawl. Where did he even come from? Desperate. They all lunged at him at once. He is just one man, kill him. Seal Mudok simply raised a single finger, and threads of frozen energy instantly pierced through every one of them. Seal Mudok flashed forward. He reappeared behind them like a vengeful phantom. In the next breath, icy force exploded within their chests, and the entire squad collapsed in an instant. Standing there, Seal Mudok looks out, and trust me, the hunt is almost over. Only one target remained. Ross had finally reached the end of the road, and his terrified soldiers had long since lost their wits. He kicked one of his men, calling them useless trash. His only hope now was Duke Icarus's reinforcements arriving in time. His own cruelty had finally pushed his men past the breaking point. One soldier suddenly snaps, punching Ross square in the face. He hits the dirt, and the rest of the squad takes off running. If you are going to die, do it alone, you moron. All right, stick with me. Because this is where Seal Mudok finally makes his move. A bone-chilling pressure erupts behind Ross as Mudok steps from the shadows. Mudok walks forward slowly. It looks like things did not exactly go according to your plan, Viscount Ross. Ross immediately falls to his knees, begging. I was wrong. I only did it because Duke Eckers forced me. Please, have mercy. Just then, Jack arrives on a frost wyvern. We caught the runner trying to tip off Duke Eckers. As soon as those words hit, the color drains completely from the face of Ross. Mudok's voice drops to a lethal whisper. You really worked hard on those lies for a long time, Viscount. You persecuted my people, and now you will pay with your life. Mudok reaches out to end it. But out of nowhere, a shield of light blocks the strike. Mudok glares to the side. What do you think you are doing? It was Jerome who stepped in. No matter the crime, only the king has the authority to execute a noble. Killing him here makes our position impossible. Ross, sensing a lifeline, sneers. He is right, you ignorant peasant. Now pay attention to this guy's face. He actually thinks he's safe now. That arrogant smirk is already creeping back. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the woods. Ross's smugness reaches a new peak, thinking his reinforcements arrived. Did you really think I only sent word to Duke Icarus? War requires a royal witness, so I sent Volmer to the capital to accuse you first. You tried to force a surrender before the king found out, but your plan just went up in smoke. Mudok's eyes go ice cold, then he suddenly starts smiling. It is a look that makes Ross feel incredibly uneasy. Mudok looks at the man beside Ross. Go ahead, show them who you really are. I know you and I both saw this coming, but the reveal is still absolute fire. Volmer reaches up and rips the disguise right off his face. The mask falls away to reveal Miller, the deadly assassin Mudok trained in secret. A lethal glint flashes in Mudok's eyes. Ross finally realizes there is no escape, and his face fills with pure despair. Terrified and losing his mind, Ross turns tail and tries to bolt. Frozen energy surges through the dirt, locking his feet in place instantly. Mudok clenches his fist, gathering massive force. Trapped and helpless, Ross can only watch as that devastating punch comes screaming toward him. The air explodes as the strike connects. That insane inner force sends Ross flying over 100 meters. His face twists and shatters on impact before his body slams heavily into the ground. He falls silent forever. Everyone stares at the corpse as Mudok turns back to face his people. Seeing the pure joy on their faces, even Mudok cannot help but let a small smile slip out. The war is over. Karen wins. From there, everything moved forward with ruthless efficiency. Ross's family lost everything, and the man himself was officially erased from the territory a few days later. Tot City is annexed into Calaran. At Jerome's request, Wolmer takes over the administration of the city. But Mudok is not the type to trust someone blindly. He stations 2 knights to keep a close watch and report back every single day. Soon, the king's birthday arrives. Mudok did not expect the first familiar face he would see at the gala to be Princess Sylar. Sylar greets him first, but Mudok keeps things strictly professional and polite. VIPs from every nation are here. Just then, Princess Daphne and Count Anos make their grand entrance. The room erupts into whispers the second they walk through the doors. Hearing the name Anos makes Mudok's heart sink immediately. This is the top sword saint mentioned in the letter. Just looking at him gives Mudok a bad feeling. The king appears with the 2 princesses, and their beauty completely steals the show. Sylar looks genuinely surprised. She realizes the woman always by Mudok's side was actually a princess of the Drake Kingdom. On stage, Isela spots Mudok in the crowd standing right next to Sylar. And that's where we leave it for now, trust me, this jealousy is about to boil over. Why is she here? This was not the plan at all. Stick with me, you are about to see one man humiliate the entire nobility. King Maluova kicks things off with a speech, telling everyone to party like there is no tomorrow. And then comes the moment everyone was waiting for, the gift presentation ceremony. Duke Icarus steps up first, presenting a magic ring that can nullify any attack below the 4th circle. With a smug smile, the Duke hopes this treasure will keep His Majesty safe from any future harm. The moment the ring is revealed, the entire crowd starts buzzing with pure excitement. High-level artifacts like this are insanely rare and priceless. Naturally, the king is beyond impressed. The king thanks Icarus for the precious gift, making every other expensive tribute that night look like trash. Because Seal Mudok is a special case, he has to wait until the very end to present his offering. First, he presents the hide of an ice ogre that he personally hunted down and killed. Duke Icarus is disgusted. He mocks Seal, calling the gift crude and calling him a vulgar commoner. But Seal Mudok does not flinch. He just looks the king right in the eye. He admits that just a leather hide is not enough. He has a second gift ready. Inside the box are 3 unremarkable eggs, leaving the king and princesses scratching their heads in confusion. Seal calls them monster eggs, and Duke Icarus loses it. He screams that this is a royal insult. The Duke orders the guards to drag Baron Blizzard out, but the king suddenly roars for silence. The king holds back his rage and demands an explanation for this seemingly worthless tribute. Now watch this. Seal calmly reveals these are actually frost wyvern eggs. Suddenly, the room goes cold. Caloran frost wyverns are massive, fierce, and twice the size of normal ones. Even if you could find the eggs, actually raising these beasts was considered nearly impossible. But if tamed, their raw power would take the kingdom's military strength to a whole new level. King Mova stares at the 3 eggs, swallowing hard as he looks at Seal in total shock. He loves the gift, but points out that raising them is even harder than finding them. Seal does not blink. He agrees it is hard, but then something incredible happens. He puts his fingers to his lips and lets out a sharp whistle, calling for his wyvern, Lily. Instantly, the massive shadow of a fully grown frost wyvern looms outside the palace window. Seal explains he raised this one himself, and will teach the kingdom's keepers exactly how he did it. If the king is the first thing they see when they hatch, they will follow him forever. As for the other 2 eggs in the box, they are for the 2 princesses, serving as their ultimate protectors. The king is absolutely floored by this. Not only was it the best gift, but Seal even prioritized the safety of the king's daughters. The king bursts into laughter, declaring this the greatest gift he has ever received in his entire life. He thanks Seal Mudok personally, while Ashilda watches on with a huge sigh of relief. I know what you are thinking, the Duke won't give up. And yeah, here he goes. The Duke reports that Baron Blizzard illegally marched his troops into Viscount Ross's territory just a few days ago. He claims Seal started an unauthorized territorial war, which is a massive crime against the crown. Icarus demands severe punishment for Seal's reckless and arrogant behavior. He wants him gone for good. The entire hall goes dead silent. You could literally hear a pin drop in that room. The king looks down, realizing that if this is true, he has a major problem on his hands. But Seal just asks one simple question: is slave trading illegal in the Kingdom of Drake? He pulls out a scroll detailing every single one of Viscount Ross's illegal slave transactions. Ross was abducting Seal's own people and selling them off. Seal's anger is now cold as ice. No lord would stand by while their people are sold. Cold sweat starts pouring down the Duke's back. He had no idea that greedy idiot Ross was secretly running a slave ring right under his nose. Trust me, you and I are about to see what happens when you break royal law. Ishilda steps in. Stick with me, we're about to see a power play so bold it skips the king entirely. She shoots a knowing wink at the king, asking if she's right. He just covers his mouth, hiding a smirk while weighing the chaos she just stirred up. The excuse is perfect. Honestly, there's absolutely no way for anyone to pin the blame on Seal Mudok now. A second later, the king rolls with it and makes his final ruling. From this moment on, Tot City is officially incorporated into Caloran territory. At his side, Count takes the perfect chance to speak. Since Baron Blizzard just grew the kingdom's borders, shouldn't he get a brand new title to match? The king gets the hint. Count is right. Baron Blizzard, step forward. On command, Seal Mudok takes center stage. The king reaches out and drapes that massive ogre hide Mudok presented right over his own shoulders. From this day on, I appoint you as Count Blizzard. He receives congratulations from the entire hall, but Duke Icarus's face turns pure black with rage. Duke Icarus's stare is nothing but pure malice. He'll do anything to drag Seal Mudok back down to the dirt. A moment later, he just turns and storms out. But in the shadows, a man has been watching everything with cold eyes. Outside, the freezing night wind begins to howl. Seal Mudok feels pretty satisfied with tonight's win. He's moving step by step toward the center of power and closer to Ashilda. Now pay attention, the doors fly open, and Count Anus of the Hazen Kingdom walks out to meet him. Anus doesn't waste time. I finally found you, he says. Those words make Seal Mudok stop in his tracks. Anos is speaking the language of the Central Plains. He slowly, deliberately pulls the door shut. You're an enemy of my Manhwa sect. His killing intent is screaming. I've traveled so far just to find you. He unsheathes his long sword. Suddenly, the scent of plum blossoms fills the air, and Seal Mudok's heart just drops. This is the very disciple Elder Jangpong mentioned before he died. The man hailed as the strongest rising talent in the Central Plains, Ajing Chang. Anus levels his blade and starts closing the distance, walking towards Seal Mudok one heavy step at a time. In this quiet palace hallway, murderous intent is about to explode. This is easily the strongest enemy Seal Mudok has faced since arriving in this world. Now that they've clashed, neither is holding anything back. A surge of blood-red sword energy erupts from Anus's blade, instantly forcing Seal Mudok to retreat. His inner force gathers like a massive tidal wave. With a sudden flash, he's right in front of Seal Mudok before he can even blink. He slams his palm forward, and the impact sends Seal Mudok flying back dozens of meters. The power behind that palm strike is terrifying. Mudok stumbles, barely managing to keep his feet on the ground. Giving him zero room to breathe, Anos charges back in and slashes another lethal stream of red sword energy. Seal Mudok activates his movement technique, leaping high into the air to narrowly avoid the strike. Let's pause. We can both see that Mudok is genuinely shocked by this guy's insane power. That title of strongest rising talent in the Central Plains definitely isn't just for show. Anus's bloodlust spikes as he declares, "This is the end. 5 years. I spent 5 long years hunting you down. We were on the same ship that fateful day. I was waiting for the chance to kill you, but the storm and light swallowed everything. By the time I woke up, I was in this world." Anus's aura flares up again. "I never forgot your face, and I'll never forget the blood of Mount Hua." The sheer pressure has Seal Mudok breaking out in a cold sweat. Even the air feels different now. Anus's long sword explodes with an incomparable intent. Finally, he can kill Seal Mudok and wash away the deep hatred of the Mount Hua sect forever. The crushing aura in the hallway is so heavy that Seal Mudok literally can't catch his breath. He realizes he might not even be able to block this next attack. But just then, the corridor door is suddenly pushed open and a foot steps inside. At the sudden noise, both Mudok and Anos look up instantly. Princess Sylar walks in, asking why she's been looking for Viscount Blizzard so long. "What are you two doing here?" Mudok quickly hides his fear and offers her a calm, fake smile. "This is just an old friend from my homeland I haven't seen in ages. We were only catching up." Anos shoots a cold look at Sylar, the second princess of Gaia. He quickly runs the numbers in his head. Murdering someone in front of a royal princess would turn into an irreparable disaster. He has to postpone the kill. He tells Sylar to enjoy her conversation. "I'll head out first," he says. After that, he just turns and walks back toward the door. And that's where we leave it. Anos whispers a final, chilling warning. "Trust me, it's about to get even wilder." "Alright, you and I are diving into a cold-blooded threat that changes everything. Since you took what I loved most, I am going to destroy every single thing you hold dear. Your wealth, your allies, no one is safe from my wrath." As he spoke, his eyes cut across the hallway, locking onto the unsuspecting Isilda. He is starting with that Drake Kingdom princess, the one who looks at you with such devotion. Seal Mudok's eyes narrow in pure shock. "You monster. Leave Isilda out of this. It has nothing to do with her." Anus slowly fades away. "We will see about that. Watch your back, Seal Mudok." That parting threat hits hard, but Princess Sylar tries to interrupt his spiraling thoughts. "You and Count Anus looked like you were having a pretty intense talk." Mudok is too rattled to deal with her. He claims he has urgent business and turns to leave, but Sylar grabs his sleeve. Mudok stops. "Do you actually have something to say?" Sylar freezes, her voice getting stuck in her throat. "It is nothing, really." But then, her royal pride kicks in, and she forces herself to stand tall. Now pay attention, because this rejection is about to get brutal. Mudok just glares at Sylar with absolute icy indifference. "Your Highness should be busy. Guests from every nation are here. and you should be representing the kingdom of Gaia as their host. So why are you hanging around here, pestering me? Sylar's eyes fill with hurt. Those words, pestering me, sink into her heart like poison thorns. Every other man she knew would kill for a word with her. But this man? He is totally different. She whispers softly, "Do not misunderstand. I only came to congratulate you on your new title as a Viscount." Her chest feels tight. That really is all. Mudok realizes he might have been a bit too cruel with his words. I was too harsh. My apologies, Princess Sylar. But I really have urgent matters to attend to. I must go. Mudok pushes the door open and steps inside. Regardless, thank you so much for the congratulations. The door shuts, leaving Sylar alone in the hall. She watches him through the glass, her heart aching. Mudok is already sprinting toward Ashayla. He is not even trying to hide the pure panic on his face. Sylar's throat tightens. If she had met him first, would things have been different for them? Okay, I know what you are thinking, but Sylar has to snap out of it. Survival comes first. She stares down the long hallway. Right now, the only thing that matters is surviving her sister's deadly assassination plots. Meanwhile, Princess Daphne of the Hazen Kingdom hits it off instantly with Jerome in a palace pavilion. The two are laughing together happily. Jerome is exactly the kind of handsome guy Daphne adores. But as a princess, she has never really known what freedom feels like. Her brother already signed her life away, arranging an engagement to the cold Count Anos. Jerome is so charming and gentle that he steals Daphne's heart before she even realizes it. Her cheeks flush a deep, glowing red. You and I can see it, this man is clearly the one. A few moonlit words are enough to send her heart racing uncontrollably. Right then, the arrogant Anos looks like a total stranger compared to Jerome. He marches up, claiming he has been searching for her for ages. His eyes darken the second he spots Jerome. Who is this? Jerome calmly replies that he is just a passing mage. He bows to the princess. Since your royal guard has arrived, I will get out of your way now. But Daphne calls him back. She actually steps forward and whispers something secret directly into Jerome's ear. Anos is absolutely livid. He coldly reminds her that she needs to remember her place. After the banquet, the king has promised to hold our grand engagement ceremony. Jerome's heart sinks when he hears that. Is this how their story ends before it even begins? Pure despair washes over Princess Daphne's face. Anos looks down his nose at her. So, little by little, you should start opening your heart to me, princess. Daphne looks miserable. She has absolutely no way to fight against her brother's royal decree. Before she leaves, she glances back at Jerome. She silently mouths the words, "See you again in 3 days." She flashes him a beautiful, charming smile. Jerome stays composed on the outside, but inside, his mind is spinning. That silent defiance confirms everything he suspected. Now, the scene shifts over to the Royal Merchant Guild headquarters. Mudok, Edmund, and Jerome are meeting. They are discussing Miller. The assassin Mudok has been training in secret. And you and I are about to find out how this assassin's noble past changes the entire game. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a tragic tale of revenge where a prestigious house was poisoned, leaving only one survivor named Miller. Seal Mudok turned to Jerome. After all this time investigating, had he finally tracked down the real killer behind the massacre? Jerome shook his head. On the surface, it looked like Baron Badian did it, but he wasn't the one pulling the strings. Edmund looked grim. Badian was just a pawn. The man who actually gave the order to kill everyone was someone else entirely. Meanwhile, Miller couldn't wait any longer. He had to kill Baron Badian right now and finally finish his bloody revenge quest. But just as he was leaving, Seal Mudok's group blocked his path. Edmund looked at Miller, clearly moved by seeing the boy again. He was just a small child when they last met, and now he had grown so much. Then, Edmund finally dropped a bombshell. I am Edmund of the Royal Merchant Guild. Your family once saved my business, and now I am going to tell you the truth. Baron Badian might have handled the poison, but the true mastermind behind everything was the powerful Duke Icarus. Miller froze, his voice catching in his throat. That's impossible. How could that even be possible? Why would a man like Duke Icarus want to destroy my family? Edmund gave a helpless, heavy sigh. The Casa Merchant Guild is the most powerful in the kingdom, and Duke Icarus owns it. To make his guild even stronger, he wiped out both the Royal Merchant Guild and your family, the Kramers, because you were both becoming too successful back then. Now, here's the part where it gets truly gut-wrenching. Miller realizes he's been serving the very monster who slaughtered his entire family for 10 years. His mind snapped. He threw his head back and laughed. It was pure, tragic irony. Seal Mudok and the others just watched in silence. Words were useless now. Any comfort would have sounded like a sick joke. A moment later, Miller's eyes went cold as ice. I am going to kill Duke Icarus right now. Seal Mudok just stared back. He warned the boy that he was no match for a sword saint like Icarus. But Miller was completely swallowed by hatred. So what if he dies trying? Is Seal Mudok going to stop him? Seal raised his hand, gathering frost. A blade of pure ice formed in his palm. If you insist on leaving, you'll have to defeat me first. Miller's gaze was sharp as a blade. Nobody is stopping me today. I am never backing down. His inner energy exploded. He lunged like lightning with his short blade, but Seal Mudok was faster, flickering behind him in a blur. Miller's instincts kicked in. He swung a back kick at his opponent, but Seal easily slipped past the strike. Seal gathered force at his fingertips. Miller had definitely gotten stronger, he thought, but he just wasn't ready yet. He struck Miller with a precise finger blow. Seal held back, but the impact was still far too much for the boy. Miller hit the dirt hard. His pressure points were locked, leaving him paralyzed and unable to move for a long time. But then, Miller moved his thumb and pressed his own acupoints. He was trying to break the seal himself. He actually forced himself into a sitting position. Seal Mudok frowned. He had never taught the boy that technique. Where did you learn that? Miller's voice trembled as he spoke. He'd just watched Seal demonstrate the move himself. I know what you're thinking, that's impossible, but we're seeing a terrifying talent being born right here before our eyes. Miller still tried to stand, refusing to quit, but his body failed him, and in the next moment, he collapsed into unconsciousness. Seal Mudok told Edmund to carry him back to his room. When he wakes up, have him come see me immediately. Edmund was worried. Was he going to punish the young master? Seal Mudok just looked at him and said he was wrong. Starting tomorrow, Seal would train him personally. Deep down, he actually felt a small trace of joy. He was right about Miller all along. The kid was a diamond in the rough, ready to become a true legend. But training takes time, and time was running out. Suddenly, the communication stone in Seal's hand began to ring. A desperate voice came through. It was Ishilda, begging for help. She was freezing and couldn't take the cold. Seal's heart dropped. He asked where she was, but in the next second, the communication stone went completely silent. There was no time for explanations. Seal didn't even have a moment to say a single word to the others. He just took off. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next.